talk to you.
Hey Dom, nice seeing you, and thank you for the invitation.
Well, I'm very excited for today's conversation. Xstocks is one that just has been positioned so beautifully now for like such a period of time. And when I see Hyperliquid taking such a significant share of the markets for enabling these 24/7 tokens, I'm like, man, people like Xstocks and anyone iterating in this vertical are positioned so well. So I'm excited to talk to you, Matt, and just pick your brain, get into it. But we've been starting all our guests today with a bit of background, so I would love to get the same out of you and just hear maybe about what kind of brought you to Xstocks today and who Matt is, so we can get to know you better.
Just to give you a little background, I've been working in crypto for 5 years now. I started off with creating a community from scratch in my home country, Italy. We scaled it, we sold it, and now, and after 3 years, I started working in DeFi. And one day, I got a message from Leo, that is one of our marketing guys at Xstocks. So he was searching for a BD guy for the company, and so briefly I got accepted, got hired, and I've been working at the project for now around 8 months. It's just been a wild ride, honestly. I'm happy I can lead operations for BD on all on-chain stuff, basically wallets, protocols, and new chains, all exciting stuff, but also very tiring in terms of
Sure.
partnerships and the amount of work I have to do on the day-to-day basis.
How big is the team? Are you guys running pretty lean?
I mean, Kraken is a few thousand employees, but the Xstocks team is much leaner. I'd say too lean, but
Really?
it's not my judgment. Yeah, we are like maybe 40, 50 people around that, working
Wow.
at Xstocks, across many verticals, BD, marketing, devs, etc.
Absolutely. Talk to me a bit about this Kraken acquisition. Obviously, they acquired Xstocks a little while ago. I'm not sure exactly on the date, but talk to me about how that happened and maybe the vision that they saw in Xstocks to make that deal go through.
Yeah, it happened like in the first few days of this year, that the acquisition to go through, and we had a really good synergy with the Kraken team, because I was hired by Vect, that is basically the other half of Xstocks that got acquired by Kraken, and we saw that this concept, this brand was taking off, and the Kraken sees the opportunity of acquiring us, and everything was finalized by January 2026. This means that Xstocks has more bandwidth, resources in terms of people and economic resources to consolidate the lead, and really taking off as a product for in many fields, from on-chain trading to the institutional side of things, to everyday apps for non-crypto natives as well.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the institutional side because it feels like we've seen it quickly start happening now, but you guys have been in this business for a while. You saw that vision, which I also want to get into in a little while. But just like directionally, tell me where are we headed? Because it seems like within the next year at this point, it seems like all institutions will have exposure to 24/7 tokenized stocks, just because we've seen the mania and excitement for this trading out of these market hour confines. Can you just maybe tell me a bit about where you think we're headed directionally?
While for normal people, retails, the big deals in the terms of owning tokenized stocks means that the market never closes, and the fact also that they can use them in different ways, and also the access has been democratized on this side. On the institutional side of things, I believe that DeFi's composability and how programmable is a token compared to a traditional share is definitely a plus that they want to have, and it can be really useful for their operations, and even for the exposure they have. They can optimize this exposure, they can even leverage their exposure, they can do loads of things with Xstocks, and we are unlocking one brick at a time to make this happen for institutions as well.
Do you foresee that this is just going to be the standard at some point where everyone's going to be offering these 24/7? I mean, we're seeing, again, you see the NASDAQ, you see the NYSE, OKX, Kraken are talking with both of those parties, as well as just Franklin Templeton, I think the other day said they were going to offer some of this stuff. Like, these traditional institutions are getting into this. They see the market here and they want a piece. Do you think within the next year, this is just a standard and we've kind of evolved to this new way of thinking of the markets 24/7?
Yeah, there are multiple providers that offer different, upside for different players. I believe that there is much interest around Xstocks as a framework. You saw with the Nasdaq deal that we disclosed a couple of weeks ago, like the interest by big enterprises is here, and their willingness to go on chain is tangible. Doesn't mean PR stunts, but it's basically for example with Nasdaq is creating a new framework for making digital assets, tokens in like Xstocks, a real standard for TradFi as well.
And what do those conversations with someone like the NASDAQ look like? How are they thinking about this?
I have like limited context on this,
Okay.
but I believe that they see the value of tokenization not just in the just putting a token on the blockchain, but being able to use these representations of stocks put on on-chain rails as an opportunity to unlock new things for the everyday investor and also for big investors.
Makes a lot of sense. I want to know how you guys at Xstocks are positioning, and maybe even for those that aren't aware, I think it should be pretty clear by now if it isn't. But can you walk us through what exactly Xstocks is, maybe the innovation that you guys have started pushing on your end?
Yeah, so Xstocks is tokenization layer for shares. Basically, the Xstocks are one-to-one digital representation of the underlying they represent, and they're tokens that are freely tradable on on-chain rails and also can be sent from a wallet to another. They can be also traded on traditional on centralized exchanges, can be traded in DeFi, and they inherit all the features that tokens have, like for example, not being bound to the single brokers or not being bound to the limitation of traditional shares, and inherit everything that DeFi has to offer. Like for example, I already mentioned it, composability in DeFi. So you can go to Camino and you can deposit your Xstocks and earn some yield, while also you can, after depositing them, you can get a loan against that in, for example, USDC, or even loop it and leverage your exposure. And this
Yeah,
is
Matt.
just an example.
No, it's a great example. You guys are so early with this. I guess if I could get into your head and understand, like, what was the reasoning you thought that this was a product that the markets needed? Like, how did you guys have that foresight and vision? And what was like maybe the driving factor that said, okay, we need to create a platform that allows anybody to have access to these stocks at any time?
I think like the regulatory landscape played a huge role in facilitating this. But at the end of the day, it's something that has been tried sort of before with synthetic representations. Like for example, I was in a live previously, and they mentioned, for example, Mirror Protocol. Another day, some people also remembered some sort of early tokenized stocks on Bitcoin rails, so let's say. But the real game changer here for us was the regulatory landscape and an ecosystem that is more mature. The real opportunity here, I believe, that was always there. The problem is that the timing is not always on your side, because Bakkt has been trying to, with the B tokens, has been trying to achieve this kind of distribution for years. And then the right moment came around, the Kraken came around, and I believe it was a matter of having a strong push from a very reputable party that was able to support Bakkt in making this a reality. There are lots of factors that played a role, but I believe it's not something that just is just born. As always, I believe DeFi has always had in mind to tokenize everything, put everything on its rails, so to make it more productive, more programmable, composable, and finally, now we believe that is the right time to do so. Institutionals, as we said earlier, are seeing these opportunities and seizing them. So yeah, it's definitely a great time to tokenize stocks.
It absolutely is. From your experience here, who are you seeing is most interested in this? Is this traditional finance coming in and getting exposure to the same stuff they were able to trade, just now kind of unchained without like the bars of trading hours? Or is this more crypto native people that are now able to do this all in one place, all with their crypto money? Like, who's really the target audience here, and who's using this most in your experience?
I mean, we know that many of our peers slash competitors are targeting almost only institutions, but at the same time, being able to create an infrastructure that gives a real advantage to these institutions is very important. And testing this with crypto native people and investors who want their portfolio to be fully on chain and to be used in different ways is definitely a good way to test this, and it is a good way to understand where is the demand and how it plays out, so that we can definitely find new ways to leverage tokenization in a more efficient way, also for institutional clients, let's say. But we saw that there is lots of retail traction on Xstocks. You can see even on our new dashboard that we have like more than 90,000 addresses holding Xstocks, which is huge. And most of them do not only have one Xstock, maybe they have 2, 3, 4, 5, an entire portfolio. And this is where we are heading, like people that are actually building their own portfolio fully on chain.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the numbers? You mentioned 90,000 wallets are holding Xstocks. Just maybe tell me about the trading volume. We've seen the growth on, especially on Solana TVL for RWAs and equities increase so much. I'm sure it's hockey sticking for you guys as well. Could you walk me through a bit about those numbers?
Let me share with you in the meantime the dashboard so you can open it for people.
Amazing. I was actually looking for that right here, so that helps. All right.
So as you can see, we now curious the fact that like right now we are so close to the 100K mark holders. That is crazy, man. It was 92K, I believe, like 2 or 3 days ago, like at the beginning of the week.
Where can
But
I see that here? Oh, right here. Wow. Oh my goodness.
yeah, oh, we almost sniped the 100K mark.
Maybe we snipe it while we're live. Who knows?
Yeah, we can update a couple of times and see. But as you can see, like the total volume is now exceeding $25 billion. It is a massive number for an asset class that was born, the other day, basically in financial terms, because in crypto it was like 3 cycles ago.
Right.
But it's really exciting to see also because I mean, like I'm one of the people that are, let's say, more glowy inside the team on Twitter, etc., and always get the feedbacks from the users. And I see people swapping many $1,000s into XDOS and giving us feedbacks, etc. So like these are sticky users. Like we see that they are hungry for this kind of assets. This asset class is definitely something they're looking for, and you can see from the AUM has been increasing day by day now to $270 million. You can see here in the dashboard, probably slightly more. Also, the DEX volume is almost at $400 million, so only DEX volume, and on-chain transaction volume is now over $4 billion, which take into account also the transfers. Well, if we go to see the assets, we can see that the biggest ones alone make up for around $100 million in AUM, and also we saw some of the assets, like for example, even Circle, that had a huge demand in the past few weeks, given the upside in price. In this dashboard, you can basically see all the data around the stocks, and there is lots of demand also on different kind of assets on different exchanges that are decentralized or centralized, and the older growth is astonishing. So we have a really deep and solid user base that's love to accumulate tech stocks basically every week.
This is just looking at the dashboard really sets it. I mean, every single chart on here is up and to the right. It's just like the hockey stick, exact chart you want to see. Incredible. Can you talk to me maybe about like how you just foresee growth, because we know that the total addressable market is massive. Like, do you have numbers on the TAM of this market, or it's kind of blue ocean here and you're just waiting to see?
It may be understood as can be understood as a blue ocean market, but at the same time be like a little delusional to think about this in this way. Like, seems one of like those futuristic pitch decks that you see hanging around in San Francisco, in the Silicon Valley, But exactly, it is not, because the thing here is being able to attract real users that are actually enjoying the product, and that can leverage our partners to have the best experience possible. So we are really working hard on the partnership side, but not just the partnership itself as a mere marketing tool, but on the integration side. I can't say the amount of work I've been putting just to make sure that the integrations were running smooth. Specifically, like I was together with Adam, our founder. We led together the efforts on Exchange, that is basically our internal atomic and mint and redemption engine that basically unlocks TradFi liquidity for users. So basically, you can go in, like around the clock. You have up to $1 million in per transaction in maximum value that you can get on a swap on, for example, Jupiter, or 1inch or 1inch Fusion, or Cow Swap, and you'd be able to have like a very low spread on a huge swap. And this makes it easier for users to swap big clips. And this is just creation of basically new X stocks based on market demand. So they're getting access to TradFi liquidity to get their X stocks.
Yeah, you said something really interesting. Access based on demand. Personally, I really want to see private equity on chain, and just the continued emergence of that. We're starting to see the early innings of it. Can you maybe talk me through how you guys are thinking about bringing maybe private equity on chain? And when you talk about appetite and demand, there's so much demand for gold, silver, oil, especially right now. How are you guys looking at the commodities market and the private equity market?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So to be fair, I have to say that the private equity market is not a main focus for us because of liquidity and regulatory issues. We want to, at the moment, we are just tokenizing US listed securities, like can be gold ETFs, or even now we have also palladium, silver, and many more that you can see the product list, and available on Kraken, and also some of them also in DeFi. And there is a whole range of ETFs. There is even T-bill in there there are of course S&P 500 and many other indexes, plus of course the standard, the singular stocks themselves. So we are already working on tokenizing more commodities. You're gonna see in the coming weeks some of them going live. So it's definitely a step we are taking. And but private equity is still far from being something that is actually viable, at least on our rails.
Children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why?
$22 million in 3 fucking hours! There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.
The feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's great.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. I think it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Happy Monday. Chill, TRD. How are we doing, buddy?
GM, y'all. What's up, Dom? You good? How's the weekend?
Feeling good, man. It was a good weekend, dude. Watched them hoop. Not so bad. I'm not sure if you saw the Duke game. Insane ending. Yeah. So good. March Madness looking good. Everything's good for me, man. What about you?
Man, I'm chilling, bro. I'm chilling. Busy weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't watch college. I watched the NBA. But that was solid. I mean, OKC, they put on a show the other night. So yeah, man, good weekend. Apparently not too bad of a weekend for the market either.
No.
You know, looks like we're holding up pretty well. We're doing some cool things. I guess, you know, just to preface, chat, so this is how the show is going to go today. So we just started. We have our first segment coming in here at like 12. That'll be about 20 minutes-ish or so. We'll get into some, and then we also have another interview at 12:30. another segment at 12:30. So expects a lot of like the macro stuff, the on-chain stuff, like all that stuff will come after today's interview since we're getting started so early here. But yeah, man, I mean, dude, we gotta talk about MetaDAO. We gotta talk about MetaDAO.
We got a lot.
React to that as well. Yeah, there's a lot that happened over the weekend.
We got a little bit to cover. Like you said, though, we got 3 back-to-back conversations. We'll have a few minutes in between to kind of break those down. But then after is when we'll touch on MetaDAO, P2P, all that good stuff. The market going, giving us a little bounce, whether it's tricking us or whether it's here to stay. That you guys can find that out after the stream. Nonetheless, I got Pierre in the waiting room, so we can just bring him up to preface the first 2 conversations with Collad and Star. We got Adam and Pierre, both from Collad and Star, back to back. They are using the new Bedrock formation that Meteor has created. So, really just focused on touching on a lot of that stuff, how they see, I guess, the progression of the markets as we know it, and maybe why they decide to go down this route. So, hey, without further ado, I will bring my guy Pierre up. Pierre, how are you?
I think you might be muted, brother.
You with
How's
us?
it going? Yeah, I'm not getting anything on my end.
I'm not getting anything either. I'm not sure if he can hear us. Pierre, can you hear us, bud?
He can. He said in the private chat that he can hear us, but we can't hear him.
Maybe try a
Hey
quick
Pierre,
reset.
maybe try resetting. Yeah, try resetting and jump back in, and we'll get you up.
Is it better now?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Good morning.
You're giving some feedback though. When Chill talks, I can hear him coming out of your end.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's better now.
Yeah, I think it should be better now.
All right, cool. Well, hey, if it's working, it's working. How are you doing, Pierre? We don't get to see your face today.
I mean, we can.
Look at that. The chat himself.
My French king.
Good, man. It's been a long time. I think we didn't have a proper chat, so it's good to reconnect.
Yeah, dude. We're gonna get the full update today on what's going on with Collad. You guys were early adopters of Bedrock here. I don't know. Talk me through a little bit about Bedrock. Maybe just educate the people. I want to get into Collad when everything's going on here, but this is your most recent update. So could you just talk us all through like what is Bedrock and then why you guys decided to, I guess make this jump over, be one of the early adopters?
Yeah. So like just to start off, I think Bedrock. I'll just try to keep it simple and try to explain my best because obviously it is Meteora guided and founded as well. So essentially, it is a framework for permissionless, standardized, and founder-friendly legal infrastructure, essentially to allow launchpads to essentially launch businesses on chain. So that is like TLDR, what that is. And so, Collateralize has been building around RWAs since day one. It has been our motto and our North Star. And obviously kind of like building with Meteora over the last few months was obviously one of the great things that we could do is allow anyone that wants to build in the Solana ecosystem who's serious about doing so, essentially like to launch his company on chain, right? So that is why we were super excited to be one of the launching partners of Meteora for Bedrock. And essentially, from our standpoint, we're really kind of like one of the rails to enable that. And all the legal side is handled by Bedrock. So essentially for us, it is really kind of like a way for anyone to, just in a few clicks, go from vibe coding at, 8 p.m. in the evening to having an idea, finding your co-founders in the morning, and just starting your company like 12 hours later. So that is really, where we see there is value. And also a structural shift in the industry where, you see where AI is going so fast. And, like back in the days, you had to raise 50 to 100K, get a team, like take the time to develop. All of that cycle is just way too long right now. And having this, essentially this infrastructure ready and deployable in literally like a minute, for anyone that's serious about what they're building, I think is a great achievement from Meteor. And so, yeah, we're just super excited to be one of the one powering that solution.
Can you describe for us the hole that Bedrock is filling. I mean, we were all there, right? Like summer last year, Believe was here. There was this just optimism about on-chain businesses. Obviously, Bedrock wasn't there at that point. We see how that turned out, but kind of describe to us, what hole is Bedrock filling? Why do we even need Bedrock in the first place?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously that won't be probably a complete answer because I haven't been the one just doing all the legal stuff. It's on the Meteora side, but essentially, like, it is a way to allow holders to get some kind of seriousness from the company, knowing that there is a foundation that is behind it. So it does not punish failure. It is more kind of like an enforcement mechanism exit for, I would say, dishonest or kind of like fraudulent behaviors. I think that is really one of the attempts that we're seeing. I don't know if it will be the ideal, the last one, the optimal one, but at least it's a very good direction that is being taken by Meteora. And so I think, like in the grand scheme of things, having those kind of like safeguards and rails put in place on chain is going to be one of the enablers, probably not going to be the only enabler, obviously, but you need to have kind of like some solid foundations. And I think what Bedrock is doing here with the foundation, how Govern AI is also kind of like working on that with Meteora, I think it's kind of like the right setup from a people standpoint, from a jurisdictional standpoint, and then hopefully as well, like from an equity and holder standpoint as well.
Do you think this fits more in with like the vision idea of projects that you want to be launching through your protocol? I think for a while, we saw more meme-centric tokens doing well, and it just seems like that didn't really ever fit what Collat's vision was. Can you maybe walk me through how this fits maybe a little bit better?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like really focusing on RWAs since day one was kind of like the main path for us, right? So RWAs is like a keyword, right? Where you could put anything. You could put equity of companies, you could put, buildings, art, whatever. And so I think, like, as you just said, I think this is kind of like the natural evolution of what Onchain is doing. And obviously, as kind of like a team building on the infrastructure and allowing people to transform what you have in the real economy and put that on chain to really supercharge developments, growth is where we are focusing on. So that is obviously, I think a great step, having the possibility to have those Bedrock coins onto Collateralize. And obviously, like coming back to what you were saying as well, like I think like the meme era will go back and forth. Obviously, right now it is kind of like a big no man's land. I think it will come back at some point. I think also RWAs are also kind of like the space where people are looking for a little bit more tangible and like safer assets. So we'll be announcing something on that as well, like very soon. So we're happy to jump back in on the stream when we do. But like having the suite of product where you could do anything from a meme to like startups up until RWAs is really where we are going and we'll be focusing on.
Let's talk about RWAs for a second, because I remember, man, years and years ago, even thinking like there's going to be such a nice spot for RWAs. I think starting even with NFTs, we saw like early fledglings of, hey, RWAs can exist in some form on chain. Like we want that to happen. I think NFTs was too early. We weren't really there yet. But now we're seeing on Solana trading volume, USDC adoption for stable coins, and more of these real world assets, more RWAs, has really been growing a ton on Solana. I don't think we've quite seen that materialize so much in physical products like RWAs and some of these things, but it definitely seems like that's where the ball's headed in terms of like the type of capital coming to Solana. I don't know. How are you guys seeing that from your perspective in terms of like RWA growth?
Yeah, I think there are, for me, like two sides of that spectrum. The first one is obviously like the very liquid and essentially the RWAs that are already listed on stock exchanges and all of those. Putting those kind of assets on chain is essentially like growing the TAM of those assets, which is nice. But I don't think like there's a radical innovation. Obviously, like you can trade 24/7. That is amazing. You can also leverage, Hyperliquid to kind of like power move some stuff, but you don't have like a radical innovation that you have in long tail assets. And I kind of agree with your take as well. The long tail is probably kind of like what institutions haven't been really looking forward to, just that much and yet. I think just because this is where the retail is coming, right? Because those like retail wants to have fractions of certain assets and be able to do little trades on those, as you would do on meme coins or on kind of like some real world collectibles and stuff like that. And so I think this is where putting those long tail assets like art, like real estate, like collectibles, and such asset classes is where you could do some easy arbitrage opportunities. We had someone from the community acquiring 51% of a sapphire. He got it like for I think 5K, and like the value of that is like 20K. So like he instantly made like a 3x on that. And so that kind of opportunity is amazing, and I think this is where we'll be headed, like from a collateral standpoint. And yeah, we'll have some exciting stuff on that.
That's really, really interesting. We're going to touch on that a little bit, but I think just generally the proliferation of Hyperliquid showing institutions that they can trade 24/7 assets, outside of the confines of these markets has been eye-opening for a lot of people. And quickly we're seeing every single major centralized exchange, even the NASDAQ, NYSE, all like spring to implement this into their current system. Something we thought was going to take forever for the financial market to adapt to. Do you think it happens that fast when RWA starts getting attention?
It is hard to say, but like seeing how fast Hyperliquid did that, how fast Claude Code is taking over everything, I feel like the pace at which everything is going right now is just parabolic. It just takes time, and then like in a month you can go like from almost zero to like billions in trading volume. So it could very well happen like that. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it is going to be a matter of obviously like time to market, and also having the good product at the right time. And once we see that, I think it is just going to be massive and parabolic growth.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Fundry real quick. I don't think we've had a conversation about this since you've launched it. I remember watching you guys launch it and seeing some cool mechanisms like the one you just talked about. The 51% attack, I think, is kind of what you call it, where you can claim an asset based on 51% holdings. But from the top, walk me through this new Fundry launchpad and kind of how this came to be.
Yeah. So like the very first thought was like, how can we make like permissionless launches? Because essentially like for the previous version of the launchpad that is really RWA focused, this one had we had to be the gatekeepers, and so like handing off this to a permissionless environment really helps kind of like scale. Obviously you get some crap, but you also have some interesting projects that are launching through that. And so we thought that, for Bedrock, that could be a very interesting approach where anyone could literally permissionlessly launch those. So the Bedrock config is right here. And then also we wanted to play a little bit around the token configuration, essentially enabling people who want to launch coins to like play with the token structure, right? So like if you were to go on the builder section, you would see what Toli has as the ideal config, which he described into a tweet that was like one put, which was like essentially like 20% goes to the public, the team gets 80%, and it is vested over a year. So we essentially like put that framework into a bonding curve, and then you can launch that in seconds. And so that is really what we want to do here, kind of like give the capacity for anyone to play with the tokenomics he wants, and essentially have that automatically vested on Jupiter Lock as well, also to protect, essentially the holders. Because like if you were to have this config without the vesting, it could be pretty harmful. So we really kind of like try to put all the bricks together to have a very modular approach where, based on what you want to do, you could essentially launch.
I love the pre-configured selection here. I think it's really, really cool. When you think about like friction for launching, do you think this adds, because of course there's like this good middle ground where you have all this configuration to where it fits the project perfectly, but also you need to make it to where it's smooth and seamless enough to where they can just launch super fast.
Yeah.
How are you guys thinking about attacking both sides of this?
It is kind of like the probably the most tricky part, because kind of like giving the possibility for you to essentially custom your token is a tough one. So like that's how we put those cards, essentially kind of like putting out the kind of framework that you could be using. But obviously, you know, we've seen people trying out like a lot of different configurations, and so I think, you know, like from a very personal standpoint, I think there are three that are very interesting. Obviously, number one is Bedrock, because I think it has kind of like a very unique structure. Number two is going to be what is AI agent related. So we have essentially a partnership with Camillo that is using the MCP. So they could be launching agents right directly through Foundry, right? So that is rather little targets to raise, but have the AI essentially building and controlling everything. So that is number two. And number three, I think it is going back to the very traditional launchpad approach, where you have a more community-driven approach, where the dev has, you know, like 3% of the supply. We vested that for a week just to make sure that, you know, like he doesn't get to essentially dump super fast, but have a pretty good distribution. So that is kind of like my personal top three. But, you know, like we also enable anyone that wants to test out models to build on that.
Going back to Tolly's configuration, do you agree with that that kind of approach from Tolly? Like, what do you think is the thinking behind that?
I think it is the config that he put out for Seeker, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, I think 80% is, like, personally, I think it's too much from a founder standpoint. But then it really depends what you want to do with those 80%. Are you going to do some airdrops? Are you going to link the equity to the token? Or, you know, it really depends what you want to do. If you would just want to bag hold your 80% for yourself and, you know, do nothing, it doesn't make sense. But if you have like an incentive plans, if you have kind of like a structure that you want to put behind, it could make sense. So, I mean, this is where also kind of like the possibility to essentially like build your own tokenomics is interesting. And also, you know, we've been also inspired by some of the projects that launched on Believe and had to buy out their own supply. I think that is outrageous because like the cash flow and the money that you make, you want to spend.
Wait a second. Projects had to buy out their own supply on Believe. I'm sorry. I think that's the first time you're breaking news to me here. Really?
Remember in the early days? Yeah.
Wasn't that Dupe that had to buy some of their tokens?
Yeah, right. So remember, Believe came out with this feature where you could pre-own 50% of your tokens, buy it at the earliest possible time, and lock it for 4 years. Right. That's what Orgo did, for example.
Okay.
And then, and like you said, Dupe has now been trying to acquire back a ton of their tokens, which is now, I think they're up to like 25%, but they've spent millions of dollars doing so.
So that's what we wanted to fix, essentially. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. You wrote about this 51% mechanism, and I think this is going to mainly the focus on the RWAs you have. You talked us through a really good example. I want to hear more about that specific example. Could you walk us through the thought process of this 51% attack you guys wrote about?
Yeah, so like it really came out from from what we saw like in the very early days of the RWA Launchpad. Essentially, like we had tokens completely depeg on chain, like market cap wise, compared to the underlying value, and like there was absolutely like no volume, no essentially nothing. Like there were really dead coins. But knowing that you have some collateral that is backing it makes it absolutely like absurd. And so we were like, how can we fix that? Essentially, like how can you like enforce, or at least have some mechanism to kind of like give a good pricing range for like an RWA? And so, you know, that's how we came up with the idea of saying, okay, if you want an asset, and essentially you'll have to battle against the other holders to get it, right? So we had this example of the Paparaja Sapphire, I think worth around 20K, that has been acquired. There's also kind of like a Pokemon card, much lower value, but that is still that still got into this mechanism. And you still have some ones that have some pretty interesting opportunities right now as we speak. I think there's a painting that is like, I think 80% discount compared to the real price. So yeah, I mean, that's how we thought about it. Like essentially peg that RWA to the on-chain value by allowing anyone to acquire the value and take it home.
So can you walk me through what this process looks like? I'm
Yeah.
Dom, for example. I see this gem on here. It's worth 20K, but it's trading at 5K. And I'm like, okay, well, I can spend, 5K here or whatever to buy 51% of the supply. And now I can actually have a claim on this gem. What happens to the rest of the holders?
Yeah, so essentially I'll probably just send you the link to the Sapphire so that you can see on the chart as well.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. But essentially, okay, here we go. Essentially what happens is that you're going to be like buying that token, right? So the price is going to go up, meaning that people are going to sell, right? And so you'll be buying more, they're going to be selling more, etc., etc. And so you have this kind of like arbitrage where, as long as you don't have 51%, it's going to be like a PvP, right? And who wants it more will have to get the most of the supply. That is really kind of like in the mechanism. And then once you get that 51%, essentially you'll be sending your supply to the DAO wallet. And so in this way, we ensure that it can't be, transferred or whatsoever. And then, from there, you essentially just have to do a KYC so that we know that you can essentially claim the token and you're good to go.
Okay.
So
I see. This is really interesting.
Yeah, I'll just send you the link right here. So that's the CA of the Sapphire that I just mentioned that has been already acquired.
So let's see.
Yeah.
Chill. See if you can pull up that chart. I'm not able to get it.
I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it up right now. Let's see.
Yeah. So essentially on the platform, you can see how many X, for example, when you guys got a hold of this, did you pay $16,500 for it or?
Essentially. Yeah. So, I mean, for us, it's not the most interesting deal, obviously, but we get to recoup some of that through the volume. So that's fine. But I think where this is amazing is that, a random holder can essentially get a massive 3-4x in cash value. And that is amazing.
So this person actually had this gem shipped to their residence.
Yeah, we're in the process of shipping it. I think he'll make some posts when he gets it.
That's insane. We're having trouble pulling up the chart here. Maybe it's because it hasn't traded in a little while. Is there somewhere I can see it on your website?
Yeah, I'll just drop it here. Maybe try this one.
Okay, let me see if I can. See if I can get that.
And I think seeing the chart is much more much more eye-opening as well, in terms of how it all works.
Yeah, we'll pull that up in a sec when Chill. Let me know when you get that, Chill.
Yeah, got it. Let me share my screen now.
So essentially, what you'll see is that early days, the token traded. I think it depegged. At the moment, it bonded. You essentially have snipers and bot essentially killing the chart. So the chart was down a lot. It went back up, then went back down, and essentially had a pretty crazy valuation compared to the underlying. And so when we announced that 51%, someone was like, I'm just gonna ape it. And so that's how you see this big green candle, right? And so essentially, what happens to the holders that keep the 49%? Well, you can sell here. You made you good, 3, 4, 5x. You can sell, right? You have a time window to sell. So it's pretty easy, knowing that the DAO holds the remaining 51%, so it's not going to be dumped on you.
Got it.
I love this feature. Yeah, this is I think this is super cool. Talk to me. I want to walk it back to the Bedrock formation as well. It
Yeah.
costs 7.5K to launch through this, like this method.
Yeah, so it doesn't cost upfront to the founder. Essentially, like how that works is at the moment where the token migrates, there is a 7.5K extraction of liquidity that we then like send to Meteora so that they can set up the SPV. Right, so it's pretty simple. Like from a founder standpoint, I think it is just one sol to mint, and then from there it's all about marketing, and then Meteora and Bedrock just covers everything.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I want to walk back as well to this method you were talking about for launching AI agents. I think you said you're working with Cameo on this.
Yeah.
How are you guys seeing tractions in terms of AI agents? We're seeing a lot of AI agents spin up these zero human companies and whatnot. Maybe what are your thoughts in like the direction we're headed with AI agents spinning up companies?
I think it is a super interesting like area. I'm like generally super bullish on what AI can do in terms of automation and like how big and how fast it can transform everything. I also think like on the other side that there is by nature there's going to be thousands, if not hundreds, thousands of millions of those. And so what is going to become tough is to detect what is good, what is bad, how long like attention gets captured into each of those. Because like attention has been pretty, I'd say like you could get like a week, a month, like 2 months worth of attention like a year back. I feel like nowadays is like 1 day, 2 day, 7 day at max. And so how do you navigate that with AI? That is kind of like one of the deep questions that I'm currently like thinking about. But I would say from an infrastructure standpoint, I think it is like a great thing for essentially like AI agents to be spinning up their own like structure, like potentially also having, I'd love to see a zero human company on using Bedrock. Like that would be lit, and having their the org charts built in this way and having everything automated from day one. That would be super sick. But again, I think it is very early, and I think the market will also decide what is worth getting attention, what gets traction as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess just on closing thoughts as we wrap up the segment, coming up on 30 minutes here, coming up on 12:30 here. So I guess the one question I had was just around roadmap. Tell us a little bit about what you guys have coming. What are you most excited about right now?
Yeah. So one of the things we're mostly excited about and focused on right now is bringing some iconic RWAs to the platforms, and essentially using the mechanisms that we just mentioned, the 51% to essentially like make a whole in this industry. Now that we have all the bricks, right? We have kind of like this permissionless version. We also have the RWA platform. I think kind of like leaning towards like iconic assets that can really put up some traction is where we'll be focusing like in the next future. One thing as well is that we have a mobile app that is live running on Apple Store and Google. I think we also will be focusing on that. We have some pretty big updates. Also discussing with the potential new hires as well to speed that up. And so essentially, if we just zoom back, I think Collateralize really wants to build the RWA companion, where you can have your platform where you have anything from like gems to artwork, then also like adding some X stocks as well potentially to the platform.
Nice.
So that you can really be able to essentially like have all your assets at the same place, and that's where you want to be.
I want to ask one closing thought from my end here. In terms of positioning from RWA, it feels like a lot of people have fallen off the wagon. You guys are still here. How are you guys positioned for the inevitable rise that's set to come to these illiquid markets?
I feel like we have learned a lot on Solana. I think we have mastered some tools and also kind of like how like markets are being shaped. but also we've been also stepping up on the compliance and more asset management side of things. So I think, like from a knowledge, from a network perspective, I think we're very well positioned. I'm just super excited for the market to revive because like we are going to be hitting hard. That's one thing I can tell.
And do you think this happens on Solana predominantly?
I think it's probably the best place to happen at the current time.
Yeah, agreed. Pierre, it's always a pleasure talking with you. We will be watching the updates. Excited to see what kind of RWAs you guys bring to life here shortly. So always fun, man.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
We'll keep in touch. Peace.
Thanks, Pierre. Take care.
All right, there you go.
Nice little update there from the homies at Collat. Good stuff, man. I love this direction that Bedrock is pushing the space in. I mean, at this point, like if you're on Solana and you're choosing not to use Bedrock, that kind of says a little bit more about your team and your project than it does Bedrock, right? Like if you're serious, you're building for the long term, then likely this is a setup that's attractive to you.
Yeah, and it's interesting too with Collat specifically. Like, I feel like they're the only ones still kind of iterating on RWA. I say RWA. I'm obviously not talking about like the rise of stable coins or equities on chain. Like those are just through the roof in terms of growing trading volume. But in terms of fractionalized markets for something like a gemstone or a Pokemon card, like we still have not seen that materialize in much of a meaningful way at all. Obviously the Foundry Launchpad's gained some traction. You can see the numbers on the bottom there, but they are positioned well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of as financial institutions and more sophisticated investors come on chain, like we're actively seeing happening, what happens to these markets that have been historically illiquid for as long as we've been alive, having that offering now. So pretty cool. Crypto Jones says, what don't you understand? Essentially, it's in the process of shipping the Sapphire. Yeah, no, it's pretty clear. I do think that's pretty cool. The fact that you can have a digital tradable asset, if you actually acquire 51%, you can own it. You can own the actual asset. I think that's super cool. So completely understand that. No confusion whatsoever. GM, top fumbler. But okay, well, without further ado, guys, we're going to actually tab over here to Star. You guys know Adam well at this point. He's been on the show a few times. And they as well partnered with Meteora on this Bedrock, and they're one of the early adopters. So just going to get his thoughts and how he sees this kind of changing the industry. So Adam, hey buddy, how are you?
What's up, guys? Good to see you again. How you doing?
What's going on, Adam?
Welcome back on the show. I think this one's been a little while as well. We haven't talked to you in a good bit.
Yeah, I think the last time we were liquidating Fairscale. Rest in peace. Rishi's still shipping though, which I'm very proud of him for. Yeah, let's talk about Bedrock. There's lots to discuss.
Yes, there is a lot to discuss. You guys started with this Futarchy method. Now you're offering Bedrock, which is more of like stock, own the equity kind of method. I'm not sure if like legally what you're allowed to say or what they're allowed to say, but tell me how you're looking at that right now. Are you guys still offering this decision market situation for products, or is it now fully Bedrock? How are you guys thinking about that?
Yeah, so our stance on this is basically that we want to focus on the consumer experience where the money meets the founder, essentially. So we're positioning ourselves as like the distribution and fundraising layer, and we're partnering with players like Combinator and Bedrock and Street and all the other ones to come to power the legal infra and the like ownership side of the tokens. That integrates into our platform. It's there in a meaningful way, but we essentially hand off these founders to our partners and they facilitate the legal structuring. We kind of see the main value being created at the very bottom of the pipeline, let's say. And we just don't have bandwidth to develop these kind of structures ourselves, nor do we want to. We're way more product marketing guys, and people like Pranav and Soju and Lucas and Combinator, they are completely geeking out over these legal structures. So that's kind of like a match made in heaven. So we're agnostic in that sense. What we've seen from our conversations with founders is that crypto native teams tend to favor Futarchy or decision markets because all of their revenue, their assets, their treasuries, that all lives on chain. So it's very easy to track, trace, keep an eye on. all the value is basically being created and captured on chain. So decision markets make sense for them. They also typically tend to have an ethos that is like favoring decentralization and favoring this idea that the protocols in the hands of its users, and they like that idea of governance. More recently, we've been speaking to a lot of founders that are they're leveraging a token to raise funding quickly, and again with that same ethos of putting your business in the hands of in the ownership of your users, but they want to remain open to traditional venture capital. They might have angel investors on board. They might be positioned in some way to not a crypto native audience. And that's where something like Bedrock or ERCS is a lot more attractive to them, because they basically can keep equity on the cap table to sell to investors that are not crypto native funds, VCs, liquid funds, and so forth. So we see kind of like there's two different personas in a sense, and Futarchy makes sense for one and Bedrock makes sense for the other.
Yeah, I mean, and your platform, do you think any of them make sense for, do you think any of the launches make sense for neither? Like, do you guys even welcome meme coins on your platform? Is it fully like, hey, these are businesses and they're either going to be the Futarchy or they're going to be the Bedrock, or they're going to be ERCS or whatever the other options are?
I mean, we are not doing any meme coin launches. We're strictly focused on startups and businesses. I will say, like, if there's a really compelling content creator that has a really interesting pathway to generating a lot of attention, like, I think that is a business in itself. So I'm not closed off to creators, but we're really focusing on startups. Is there a type of model that makes sense for none? I think that question pertains more to tokens specifically than per se a way of distributing ownership. There's a lot of companies, and I've heard from many founders, including a VC-backed one I was speaking to this weekend, they don't want to go public early. They want to keep their edge and their strategy to themselves. They don't want the pressure of having 1,000 investors asking for updates. They want to just speak to a handful of private investors and build in stealth and kind of follow the traditional path to IPO or acquisition. So I think that's more of a token related question than specifically than like a Bedrock or a Futarchy related question. There's just like a whole swath of complications and like responsibilities that arise when you start becoming a publicly traded company. So right. That's kind of the thing that pushes many away.
Well, you just mentioned conversations with venture capital. It's been such a difficult market to raise, and just recently we saw HuroPay from MetaDAO not be able to meet its raise number, but just now we saw P2P has already hit its 6 mil, and of course there's been plenty of controversy around that. I'm not asking you to comment on MetaDAO or P2P, but we do know a lot of liquid funds were investors in this. We saw some of the commits from these liquid funds. How are you guys thinking about liquid funds participating in these raises? Are you guys in communication with any?
Yeah, we've spoken to a number. For those curious, the way they work is they usually have a mandate. That mandate is like a minimum allocation amount at a minimum market cap. And usually they're not allowed to hold more than a certain percentage of the token supply. So anything north of 5% is usually not kosher, and they can't really pass that. So that being said, like the smaller raises that we do, which are usually 500K and below, they're not really a fit for liquid funds because they don't really put in like 20, 25K checks for the most part. So our target audience is more angels, on-chain angels, early stage VCs, way more early stage liquid investors than the funds who are usually buying at like north of a 5 or 10 mil market cap.
Got you. Yeah, I think last time we talked, you mentioned like these micro raises that you're kind of focusing on. Has there been any more discussion in that direction for doing these? I think 50K was kind of that number, these 50K raises, lower valuations.
Yeah. We're cooking really, really hard internally on all fronts. We're basically doing a lot of our deal flow and sourcing to plan out a certain calendar of launches in advance. We have teams that are ready to go now, but we want to kind of hit the market with like a whole suite of launches planned. So we've been revamping the product. We're sourcing teams, and we're basically getting ready and gearing up for a really big launch. We also announced a scout program. So we've onboarded Shaw, Good, Lily from the Prediction Index, and we're about to announce a few more to basically help us source teams. So just a lot of like background infra work happening before we really kind of turn on the engine again. And we're targeting indeed like 50K to 500K in that range of raise.
Talk to me a bit about the scout program here. You just mentioned you had, I think you said Good, Shaw, a few people. Talk to me about the scout program. We're seeing a lot of people pick this up and kind of have, I guess, benefits for scouts. If you bring in a project, you maybe keep a little bit of, I guess, margin, whatever you want to call it. I'll let you answer that question. How are you guys looking at the scout program and onboarding people here?
Yeah. So the best founders in our pipeline have come from some sort of referral. I mean, Serve Cash came through Super Team UAE. Fairskill, I think, was a referral from Hyperstrike, who works at Soulflare. So we're basically leveraging a network of trusted people who are working closely with early stage founders and bringing them into our partner network to source teams. It's quite simple. They get a third of our trading revenue for every founder they refer. There will be a little icon on our project page where you can see who referred that project. So scouts are also publicly aligned with either the success or failure of a team, which in theory should prevent them from referring any bad actors. And yeah, we're starting off with more crypto native scouts. So we've picked a number of people that are kind of like leading or pioneering or just very well respected in a specific part of the ecosystem. So the narrator and Lily are like really deep in prediction markets. They speak to 20 to 40 teams each week and work closely with a number of them. Shaw, as you know, is kind of in the indie dev AI space, and he's constantly shipping. He has a big community of devs that he works with. It's called Cozy Devs. It's like a Discord community that's full of AI engineers working on really, really cool shit. And the rest of the scouts we're announcing are, some of them are auditing agencies, other of them have creative agencies, so they naturally work with a lot of early stage teams. And that's, of course, like a good alignment for us because we can help their clients get funded so they can keep working with them. They get a cut on that. So everyone wins.
This is great. Obviously, Launchpad's success is almost, not, I shouldn't say fully, but heavily dependent on their pipeline. And I think this expanding in all directions is a really great move. How are you guys, I guess, carefully thinking about who you onboard as scouts? Like, it seems like these guys are all handpicked. You said you have some people in the indie AI vertical, right? Being Shaw, for example, here, and then others that are doing software, that have software shops that are, talking to a lot of builders. Like, how are you guys approaching these people? And I guess, what's that pitch to them?
We are really picking people that we trust and we believe have good taste and are like obviously like functionally fit to spot talent early. But it's really boils mostly down to people that we trust and enjoy working with. So I spent some time with Shaw in San Francisco. He's absolutely fantastic. He really cares about developers. He really wants to see them win. He wants to see them launch tokens responsibly with incentive aligned models. So obviously that's a great fit. The narrator, we've spoken since, I think, October. He's an angel. He really cares about helping founders from the earliest stage. Lily, she's built an amazing index of almost all PM projects that are out there. So yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's I think it's really taste specific. I really trust their tastes, and I trust that when they make a referral, it's someone I should really be speaking to. Yeah, so that's kind of it. And the pitch is quite simple. It's like, hey, do you want to help us build the fastest, most transparent way to raise money on the internet? Like, do you want to be part of that story? And yeah, that's obviously they're incentivized by it and they make some money doing so. But I think most of their involvement comes from more of a alignment in values. And like Soju, for example, is like, I'll help you, but you don't have to pay me. He just wants to see good founders win.
Right.
So I think it's more for most of the people that we're working with, it's not so much about cash. It's more about like just helping founders get funded in the right way.
Chill, and I'm sorry for hogging this. I'll let you jump in here in a second, but when can we expect some of these launches? I mean, this is all exciting stuff. It sounds like you have a whole rollout here planned. I mean, we want to be paying attention. When can we expect these things to start coming to market?
Yeah, it's a moving target still. We're looking at like late next week or the week following. It's there's a lot of like things up in the air. We're also like, we're building native live streaming into our platform. So you can just stream directly from Star, and you can from X watch like fundraise progress happen in the live stream. So it becomes this like viral content loop. Then we've got the scout program. There's just a lot of things cooking, and it's kind of like, it's been interesting because normally we've just sort of shipped something as soon as it's ready, including a raise. And now we're thinking a little bit more strategically about like, okay, how do we time things in a way that you kind of solve the cold start problem? So you have enough momentum and motion happening that it really creates like a compounding effect. So yeah, it's a moving target, but I think it'll be next week or the week following.
Well, what's the answer to starting this cold start problem to get that momentum out of the gate?
I don't know. That's what we're figuring out transparently. I think like what we're gonna try now is basically like to launch a lot of things at the same time, or rather sequentially, and see if that has a meaningful impact on the attention and like distribution that we get as a platform, rather than doing like staggered raises. We're basically just sequencing 7 to 14 in a row on a daily basis, and just creating a ton of noise and distribution around that.
Got it. So I guess the question I had was, like, how does the bear market affect a launch pad, right? Like we're obviously in a time period in the market, a lot of confidence is low, attention is almost like fleeting. It's this commodity that's like hard to hold on to. How does that affect you guys on the launchpad side? Does it affect how many founders come through your pipeline? Like, does it affect how are you guys positioning around this current market environment?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we've seen a decline in founders that are looking to raise like 500K and above. They're way more scarce, but anything below, there's still a lot of early stage teams that are looking to get their first check-in and move fast and kind of leverage the idea of ICO as a means to get funding, but also distribution. So that hasn't really slowed down. I would say the inbound pipeline is definitely less than what it was in a more frothy market. But the teams that we're speaking with now I think they're kind of the teams that we want to optimize for, because they're building no matter the circumstances. So yeah, I think like in some ways it's obviously less frothy. There's less just natural buzz and hype, and participation. But I feel like we've swapped noise for signal, and now it's kind of clear to see who really cares, who's still building. So I think in some ways it's been good, in other ways it's been more challenging. It's forced us to think about, okay, what really is the ICP of founder we're going after? And that is like the early stage, first check-in, 50 to 500, more skewing on the lower end than the higher end.
I saw this this figure the other day. It mentioned that almost 50% of all transactions happen on Solana. So I wanted to kind of get your take as far as like, positioning from an ecosystem standpoint. What's the benefits of being here on Solana? I mean, I know you're working closely with Meteora and that team. How's that also been, kind of factoring into your growth? Give us a little your thoughts there.
I am so unbelievably bullish on Solana as an ecosystem. The amount of effort and work they put in for their founders and people building on Sol is kind of unmatched. So I'll let that be said. I'm currently in New York, and I've spent quite some time at the Solana office, at their co-working days. They host founder events. I got to meet the founder of Venmo last week. That was really cool. and also speaking with the foundation and like different ways we can work on a deeper level together. I can't say much on that front as like discussions are ongoing, but they are very excited about the idea of a crypto Shark Tank as a means to onboard net new founders to the ecosystem, and want to support us in a material way to do so. So I'm super loyal to Solana. I think what they're doing as an ecosystem is they're doing it in all the right ways. Obviously, like they are a limited team, they have limited bandwidth, so they can't work with everyone. But I think if you are building something for consumer crypto users, and something to sort of change the way that we do finance, you should be building it on Solana.
And do you think Solana's moving towards a more sophisticated investor rather than like a meme coin approach? I feel like I see the promotions on their page and what they're really supporting, and like the RWA TVL growing. Do you think they want these institutions to come to Solana and maybe start catering towards that type of investor rather than the meme coin centric investor?
That's a good question. I think it's split, to be honest. I'm speaking with Taylor, who is now working in consumer at the foundation. I'm speaking with Pedro, and they're still incredibly excited about meme coins and like the more degen side of the ecosystem. And then I'm also in touch with teams that we are onboarding to Star who want to speak to the more institutional side of the platform because they are targeting liquid funds, high net worth individuals, family offices, and so forth. So I think it's diverse. I don't want to say that it's like going to be one thing or the other. I think it's just becoming more of everything.
Right. Of course, you can't speak for them either.
Why do you think they're still, you mentioned that they're still kind of interested in the degen side of things. Like, why do you think that is? What's the lore there?
I think it's fun. I think that's what they care about is fun and early speculation, like Web3 gaming, NFTs. These all came from an era that was really prioritizing fun, and I don't think that will go away. You also have to remember that like speculation is usually the earliest form of adoption, right? So a lot of the technology that has kind of made its way onto Solana and has ended up forming the backbone of the chain was first used by people to just speculate. So they don't really want to disregard that. And I think they see that, like, for example, a friend of mine is doing Banana Zone. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's kind of like a tap trading prediction game where you can predict the square of an asset in like a highly dopamine driven game. And the foundation's really excited about it because they see it as a way to onboard new users to Solana. So they're prioritizing investment there, but also obviously are working on bringing institutions like PayPal and money market onto the ecosystem. I think they see it as like bottom up and top down, and they're doing both of those quite effectively.
Interesting. You know, I see a lot of this sort of like this resistance to like meme coins, this resistance to a lot of these different assets. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's all about fun, right? It was fun in 21 and in 24 when people were just kind of, you know, just doing their thing. It was just vibes on chain purely. But I guess this movement towards more serious coins for obvious reasons, right? It can't just be purely memes on chain. But as far as these like sort of ownership coins, especially when you factor in things like Bedrock, like how do you think that'll affect, you know, the marginal buyer on chain? Like how does that affect traders? Is that enough to incentivize them to, you know, I guess treat these coins differently? Like what's your thoughts there?
I don't think I have a final answer on this, but my thoughts on this recently have been kind of as follows. I think that quote unquote on-chain traders are like hyper rotational. They'll just chase whatever narrative is kind of like trending and hot. And I don't think that one ownership model or the other makes such a material difference for them as just the sheer amount of like hype behind a given token or project. So I'll say that. And then I think second, the buyers that we kind of really want are the ones that look at, let's just say, investing in startups more how a traditional angel would, which is like, I'm going to bet on the founder. I'm going to bet on the market that they're playing in. And I'm going to be prepared to hold this asset for at least 5 to 10 years. And most angel investments go to zero. So they also have that mentality as well, right? So I think that what we'll see is like a stark distinction between like how the current on-chain trader environment operates versus the net new buyers that we, SOAR, MetaDAO, Solana as an ecosystem are all trying to onboard, because they ultimately have the like conviction, patience, and think more about fundamentals than most traders do. And the reason I say like I don't have a final thought on this is because I don't know which of those parties is actually like the smarter one or the one with more edge. So that's like what I'm still trying to figure out. Like, is everything actually a meme, and is everything just trading on speculation and like hype and attention? Or do we actually need like more sophisticated buyers, because what's the current buyer dynamic or buyer demographic is just like way too short-term oriented. So I don't have a final answer on that, but these are more or less my like thoughts and musings on it.
Yeah, good things to think about though. At the end of the day, good things to think about, especially as I feel like so much is changing in crypto. But moving on to our next piece, we have like 5 minutes left with you. Want to respect your time as well. But let's end on two things, kind of incorporating or integration of Bedrock into the Stars ecosystem, and also just roadmap, things you're excited about building. So let's talk about Bedrock first and how you plan to integrate that.
Yeah. So when you apply to Star, you basically select Bedrock as a model. Then once the raise is complete, it basically triggers an API call to set up the entity. We take a percentage of the raise to kind of facilitate all the legal fees. I think it's $7,500. Founders can also opt to have this come out of their trading fees rather than out of the raise itself if they want to keep more of the capital up front and kind of pay it off the trading fees. The first few launches that we're doing with Bedrock are waiving those fees as kind of like an early user special. Yeah, and so basically the way it works, which I'm sure maybe Soju or Pierre explained before me, but essentially Bedrock is just custodying equity on behalf of token holders. And if token holders want to take up comms with the founders about that, they have to do that through Bedrock.
Makes a lot of sense. Are you guys thinking about using Bedrock for the Star token specifically? I know you recently switched the model to the decision markets model, and Star is governed by decision markets now. Are you guys planning a switch to the Bedrock model, or just keeping it how it is? Happy with that?
No, we'll keep that how it is. Like I said, we have all of our revenues, all of our assets live on chain. So we think that Futurity makes more sense for us. We'll also be incorporating decision markets into Star in a more meaningful way very soon on this next launch. So all in all, for us, the current model makes a ton of sense. And the investors that we've spoken to for our own fundraise, they are happy to invest in a liquid asset as they would be in like an equity instrument. But again, the more Web 2 and Web 2.5 founders we're talking to, they are typically leaning more for Bedrock than for Futurity.
Got you. No, makes a ton of sense. Final question here. Tell me a little bit about the roadmap. You hinted on some of the upcoming launches coming. What are you guys just most excited about from your perspective?
It's a good question. I think what you're going to see from us next is like a move to a real product rather than like a glorified marketing agency with their own platform. We're really thinking about how we can build a product that scales and also like systems that scale along with it. So I'm just really excited about building all of that out. Also, some of the partnerships are in the works with our scouts, with Solana, with like a number of other really, really cool players. These are kind of all in the works, and I'm really excited to see all that come to life and get the engine going again.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you, Adam. It's always a pleasure talking. And we'll make sure to get you on when some of this stuff is popping off. So we're excited to see it happen.
Cool, guys. Let's make tokens great again.
Let's do it, baby.
Yes,
Come
sir.
on.
Appreciate it, guys.
Adam.
Take care.
Ciao.
Nice. Always good to get the update from Adam. And he said it best, man. Make tokens great again. What I got to take away from that is it sounds like they're going to have 7 to 14 launches back to back to back to back. It looks like they're really planning a big rollout here. Of course, utilizing some of those scouts that they have, some of the relationship they built, Bedrock a little bit. So my biggest takeaway there is I'll be paying attention, I guess, in the coming week or two is what it sounded like. Not gonna take words out of his mouth or whatever, but I believe it sounded like relatively soon. So gauging the market on that.
He said next week, but I'm gonna be forgiving. Just the same way we told Street. You said, we're just gonna broaden that a little bit, because these markets, man, it's a bear market, and that's why I asked him that question. Launch pads and bear markets don't necessarily go together, but the way they're doing it is, it's a really, really cool strategy that they have behind launches, but definitely got to give them a little grace with time, depending on, broader market conditions and all that good stuff. So
that's right. Well, number 3 of the day, boys, and then we're going to get into our own personal thoughts, but this is an exciting one. Kodak is one of the few, and Chill, I know you love Kodak. You've been a big fan of them for a while, as have I. But Kodak's one of the few actually innovating, building something really cool and meaningful. I feel like a lot of people are just overlooking it. But, not going to let us speak all about it. We'll let Moya say it himself. So without further ado, Mr. Moya, let's get him up here. Hey, Moya, how are you doing?
Hi, guys.
my man, what's going on?
Good. Hi. This is my second time here on the show, so excited to be here again. I think the first time with you guys is what I actually been on a show, so excited to be here again.
Wait, how many shows have you been on since ours?
It's less than 10, maybe 6 or 5, something like that.
Nah, that's still a lot, man. We started the world tours. That's all I wanted. That's all we tend to find the gems first,
Yeah, you guys were. I was here the first time. That gave me the courage to go on more stuff. So yeah.
Well, you did so good. You did so good last time. We had to bring you back. So you guys just recently have been working on updates, releasing some cool things. Maybe just we'll start there. And for those that aren't familiar, maybe quickly on yourself and what Kodak is in elevator pitch format, and we can get into some of the updates.
Yeah, so I'm Moyai. I'm the co-founder and the core developer on Kodak Flow. With Kodak Flow, we're trying to build a platform. We're calling it Versal for robotics, basically making robotic development easier for everyone by providing a set of tools, including simulation, training, and for data processing and all that is involved in that. Basically, that is Kodak Flow. We have a couple of products that are in the pipeline. Semarina is one of them that has been out in alpha, and we're planning to very soon to release V1 of that, so public can use it and interact with it and start getting some revenue from that too. The other thing that you were having on screen a few minutes ago was Binge, which is another product that we are releasing soon too. I can go over that a little bit more later. But yeah, that's Kodak Flow.
Awesome. And I remember that the last time that you were on the show, you mentioned that you're looking at like partnering with some manufacturers. You had your SDK release coming up at that point. Talk to us a little bit about just major developments that's happened since your last interview and how that's kind of affecting your positioning now, and how that's kind of led to some of the early success that you guys have seen.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest successes for us that happened over the past week. That we've been selected as a winner in the Pump Fund Hackathon. So that is a good for us. It's a good push for us, a validation from the Pump team, and also more funds for us to spend on hiring and marketing and things like that. In terms of product itself, we have been working in the background. Like I said, SimArena is the first thing that people are going to use, and in a visual way, and it's closest things to robotic for even a person that doesn't have any connections with robotic or things or much knowledge in terms of hardware and things like that. So the idea of SimArena is that it's a platform that allows users. Currently, right now, if you want to build a simulation, there is a lot of work that you have to do manually, and basically all writing code. So there is no visual side of aspect of that. So that means the person that needs to develop the simulation needs a lot of knowledge about the code inside of things. But currently, what we want is that if you get a robot, you want to train it in an environment that you already have, and you don't need a technical person to build you that environment. And that's where the idea of SimArena comes from, is that users are able to build this environment in a visual way without having to install anything on their end. Directly on the browser, they can build it. And then they can put their robots there and train them on basically create a rewards and punishment for them, and that way their algorithms and policy can be trained to achieve whatever task they want them to do. It's kind of a first in the way it is, because it's fully running on the browser. It doesn't need any installation, and all of the training will happen on the cloud too, and even the data collection can happen in the browser. So you can get someone without any knowledge with just a simple laptop, log in, and they can start building simulation environment, collecting data, and training their robots directly in there. And this has been used and got a lot of attraction and acceptance from a lot of big companies, including this. What you're showing here is we have an integration with the World Labs, which they raised $1 billion, I think, a few months ago only.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the main major product that we are now it's been in alpha for a couple of weeks, and we're getting it to V1, so people can start using it in public. In terms of the second thing we've been working on, and it's also powering SimArena and the other product that we have, is Fabric. We've been working hard on getting that ready and useful for public. The idea for Fabric is basically the core of Codec Flow itself. When Codec Flow started, the idea was most of AI right now, especially when it comes to video and audio, we need a way to transmit data faster and more in real time with as low latency as possible. None of the infrastructure right now is working for that specifically. Everything is working for I send a request and then I wait sometimes and then I get the response. But if you imagine a robot sending his camera feed to the cloud, he wants a response as soon as possible. He doesn't want delays or lag or things like that. And so Fabric is still in progress. We're getting closer to releasing that for public, but we can see the result of Fabric on SimArena and also in Binge too, which is another platform or a product we're releasing soon.
Okay.
So that overall, like in general, some of the updates we have, and again, like SimArena have been accepted and adopted like from a lot of big robotic companies, like there is World Labs, Boston Dynamics, Seer AI. It's been used in hackathon for people to play with it and make it easier for newcomers to get started with robotics. And we're also planning a hackathon around it too soon.
You just dropped a ton on us. So we're gonna walk back to SimArena here and talk a little bit more about this. You guys have been building out this sandbox for robotics for like, I feel like a long time now. Position wise, you guys have had this vision, and like, man, we saw the Chinese New Year, the insane presentation of the robots doing the backflips, doing jujitsu. Like, the development has been incredible for robotics. you guys are uniquely positioned to capture this. So I just want to get your vision on like directionally, what is the world going to look like in a couple of years, and like how are you guys positioning for this seemingly robot takeover that you guys are kind of envisioning?
I think couple of years too far. I think we're gonna start seeing things even by the end of this year and even 27 from big companies. We've seen not long ago Figure starting to showcase their robots, and they are the biggest robotic company in the US, and maybe they have the biggest even distribution and production pipeline. So their success means robotic is success everywhere else, and they're starting to push that too. Other companies, OpenAI too, started hiring for robotic roles, things related to robotics. So the trajectory is going there, and it's getting more confirmed that robotics are taking over and are coming. And from what I see is that where we're trying to position Kodak itself for is that even when everything is here, it's still hard today to go and start building a robotic. And we're trying to position ourselves where a newcomer that's gonna be excited, like it's similar to how Asians were excited in 24 and 23. You don't have a place to go and get started. There is a lot you have to learn. There is a lot you have to do. But things like virtuals, platforms where you can build agents and launch agents made things easier. And that's something that we want to do with Kodak, is basically make the development and building of robotic and training them accessible and easier for even someone who doesn't understand much about it and start wanting to learn and get into it.
So on that, real quick, before Dom gets to his next question, I wanted to just hover over that for a moment, because I find that is probably one of the most compelling things, to me at least, about Kodak, is you're taking this very complex this complex kind of way of doing things. Yeah, this complex system, you're breaking it down and making it accessible to as many people as possible. And I actually did a little bit of like digging as far as like how much time and cost is cut. Can you kind of go into that so the viewers get a more more clear picture as to how much time and cost this is cutting for builders?
Yeah, so we'll take an example of Sim Arena. Basically, if a user start to building or try building a simulation by themselves today, they'll at least the minimum that you will have to spend is at least 2 or 3 days while you're designing and building. And the problem is that you don't see it visually, so you have to write a bunch of code, then restart, check, okay, it's not doing what I needed to do, then do it again, and that takes time and of course money too, because you're paying for your time. But with Sim Arena, you can see here, you can do everything visually. A simulation like this that will take a couple of hours, you can do it in few minutes basically while building this, and you have it running. And you don't just build the visual side of it, you can add the logic here, which is like you see in the video. You can program the logic, so when you send the simulation for training, the idea is that the robot will run the simulation again and again and again until it learned the task that it wants to do. And that's basically what you're doing with Sim Arena. You're saving hours while building the simulation environment, and when you're training, you're saving the cost of having to iterate faster. Basically, if your robot fails the first day or in the first simulation that you build, you can easily iterate on it and build again and get to your result faster. So basically, you're saving hours in development time, which equate to money basically.
So I actually looked into this as well, and thanks so much for breaking that down. And I think as you stretch that out to 6 months, 8 months, a year of building, you can now get a lot more done. But I want to make sure that my thought process on this was accurate, because I put out this this tweet about Kodak it was like maybe a month ago or so. But I basically said what would take 6 months and hundreds of thousands, you can now with Kodak cut that down to 8 weeks and under 6 figures. Am I kind of on? Am I like in the ballpark there? Or
Yes, yes, definitely. The example I was I was getting more into it earlier was in the just the simulation case where you're saving hours already. The next part will be in terms of training and deployment and all of that stuff, which you don't have to write manually. You don't have to worry about uh, making a small mistake in this, and then you have to redo the whole process, which is time and money wasted already. we we manage that in the background. So for example, after you build the simulation, you submit it and we train the policy for you. You don't have to go and deploy yourself. You don't have to go source your own servers. All of that is managed by us for you, which is again, like if you in one simulation scanning it from hours to minute, that definitely equate from months to weeks basically. So yeah.
And
Gotcha.
to further hammer this in, you mentioned some traction you've gotten from World, from Boston Dynamics. I mean, these are major companies and AI labs.
Mhm.
Maybe talk to me a bit about who's showing interest in what you're building here, Sim Arena.
Yeah, so a lot of companies, like I mentioned, Boston Dynamics, World Labs, CRAI, um, they're finding the utility of Sim Arena because it's accessible tool. So anyone can get started with Sim Arena, building simulation, training robots, and doing all of that in terms of data collection and fine tuning. And that's basically what they are doing and product they are providing too. So for example, Sim Arena integrates seamlessly with World Labs. You're able to scan your room, for example, and generate a 3D environment with World Labs that you can train your robot in a visual way without having to do it by code or having to trial and error that you can mess up in. With Boston Dynamic, it was one of the workers there. They were interested in this, and it's for them. It's a training method for them and bringing in new users to them. Again, one robotic company is going to deploy or send robots to a factory, they are not going to expect or ask the users to have special knowledge or deep technical knowledge. They want to provide them with the easiest way or easiest method to deploy, fine tune, or tweak the robot that they got. So that's where kind of Simarina falls into place. Another part is a lot of hackathon education platforms are interested in this because students and users that come in, it's easier for them to get started. Again, you don't have to install anything. You don't have to worry about the back end of things. You can just start it.
And what's the main use case for this, right? You scan your room, the robot now can train and test in this environment. Like, what's the end goal for this robot to be fully functional inside a room to do what exactly?
Yeah, a room might be a small scale, but you can imagine you are in your store, for example, and you will have a special layout and you have a special shelf that you want your robots to not touch them, for example. And this is an example here that's going on the screen. For example, you can say to the robot, if it's this is the path you need to navigate, and if you touch this part, you have less points. If you don't touch it, you have more points. And then you run that hundreds and thousands of times, and then the robot will learn that, okay, this is the path I should be taking, and I should not be touching this side of things. And this does not come with the robot from the factory. The robot has to be fine-tuned and trained on a special situation or a special environment that it's going to work in. And this is where, for example, Simarina comes in.
Yeah, you said you want to make this easy and accessible for like the World team, the Boston Dynamics team, people that are doing hackathons, universities. Have you guys thought about like a white labeled product? Let's say OpenAI comes in, they say, look, we want our entire team to use this. We actually want to go and sell this solution to other people because we know where we're headed in terms of robotics. Are you guys thinking about white labeling this product, or maybe how are you guys monetizing, I guess is my question.
White labeling, I think it needs to be a very attractive offer because we can still sell what we have directly. We don't need to white label it. We can sell access to it. For monetization, the way it works is it's going to be basically through it's going to be a credit system basically. So the users can buy credit in Simarina, and that credit is going to be used for 3D generation, for training and inference time, and all of the related users in the platform itself. So that could be training, data collection, and also generation from scanning or agentic generations, because we haven't showcased this mode yet, but the idea is that you're able to have an agentic system that calls the sim arena and generate environments for you, so you don't even have to build them manually, and that will also be charged through credit.
Okay,
So
credits.
essentially,
Yeah, go ahead.
so essentially, you guys are kind of the way I'm thinking about it is just like there's vibe coding with AI. Like you're kind of
Yes.
creating this platform where you can like just basically vibe code but on the robotic side, you kind of have the simulation, you have the all the tooling, all the server management. You have all they need to do literally is, as you mentioned, kind of pay for inference, pay for some of these costs.
Yeah.
And then you get access to the full suite of tools that you guys have. That's actually pretty insane. I've seen that a lot of kind of, you know, bigger robotics players, they've acknowledged codec, right? Like obviously winning the Pump Fun hackathon, I'm sure was great validation for you guys. You guys have had a ton of validation even before then. Other than like Boston Dynamics, I know you mentioned that one. And maybe even give the viewers an idea of how big Boston Dynamics is in the robotics sector. But any other big names reaching out to you guys, or any other names kind of like you guys are holding conversations with?
Not all I can mention, but like I said, there is Hugging Face, of course.
Nice.
We're close with them. A lot of the other simulation engines, we are in talk with them. Genesis, for example, it's a simulation engine that does the backend work for us, so we're partnering with them in that sense. There is Peak also is there. Some other names I cannot mention yet, but yeah. There is a lot of interest from not crypto native, but more robotic, more hardware related companies and products. One thing I wanted to mention is that simulation in the world of robotic is similar to how humans dream. So a lot of learning even for human happens in sleep and in dreams, and a lot of reasoning that human do is also imagining what could happen in this situation, what could happen if I do this and if I do that. Simulation in robotics is similar in that value. So the reason why we added the agentic system to this, where an agent can prompt, is that you can have your agent running in your robot and connected to your robot, and then your agent is able to call SimArena and generate an environment to simulate a situation that it needs to solve, for example, and then it can train in there, and then the policy comes back to the robot, and the robot can execute that training. If you can imagine the flow, how it would be used by an agent or a robot.
Let's go down this rabbit hole real quick. How quickly can the agent do that? Can it run like, you know, hundreds of these scenarios in, I don't know, minutes, hours, or does it need to be like prompted to do that?
The idea is that what we have is a system where you're able to prompt the agent and provide it resources. So you can go in manually and start building the simulation environment by yourself, dragging things here and there and scanning the room and doing all of that. Or you can have your agent itself, like say OpenClaw or things like that. You can send it, this is a bunch of images that I want. This is my room. Can you use SimArena to generate an environment for me? And then the agent is able to talk with SimArena, generate and build the environment for it, and give it a link where the user can click the link and open the simulation environment directly in the browser. The situation I was explaining earlier about is the future vision for how things will work in simulation. But what we have right now is,
Yeah, no, can you do me a favor? Tell me how Fabrics ties into this, because you said it's like a low latency instant response for robots. So you have, you know, SimArena. Obviously, we see simulations happening. It simulates all kinds of things, right? There's really no limit to this. How does Fabrics kind of play into your workshop for robotics here?
Yes, so the idea is that once a simulation is built, you can run it in the browser, of course, but then you will need to either collect data for it or train for it, and that's where Fabric comes in. Fabrics will try and source the closest and the cheapest GPU hardware, because most of simulations, they do need GPU compute to train them. So that's the job of Fabric. It will find the closest and the cheapest hardware that it can run the simulation on, and ensure the lowest latency in terms of the training or even data collection. Some data collection, you need human intervention in between. So you need the human interacting with it, similar to a video game, for example. And if you're playing a video game from the US and the server in Europe, it's almost unplayable. The same thing happens with data collection. So you want where the simulation is happening and where you are as close as possible to you. And that's what Fabric does.
Got you. And this is yet to be released, correct? This is still in
yes. The cloud simulation side is going to be released next. Right now we have the builder. The user is able to build the simulation, collect data for it in the browser. But there are simulations where it's too heavy for the browser to run, where you need the cloud to start collecting these types of data.
Got you. So just to confirm, Sim Arena is live, and then Fabric is coming soon.
Yes, correct. I would say Fabric is live. It's just not public yet, because Sim Arena is live running on Fabric anyways. So yeah.
Got you. Can you talk me? And Chill, I know you got a question here in a sec. Can you talk me through the growth? How's the growth been in terms of people using and adopting Sim Arena?
So this is partly because we started doing the hackathon on PumpFun and building in public. A lot of, like I mentioned, hackathons, other hackathons are reaching out to start using Sim Arena in their hackathons, because it is accessible and they have hundreds of users. They want to, they are getting started with robotic. They don't have the hardware. They don't need to install everything. So they can just go to the browser, start building there and training there. So these are mostly the partnerships that are happening right now in terms of Sim Arena. Other than that, we're trying to connect and collaborate with other robotic projects, because again, removing the hard part of building simulations for any robotic project is a plus for them. It means more people using them, more people buying their hardware, and all of that.
That's awesome. So let's shift a bit here. We're looking at some forward thinking thoughts. You have about 4 minutes left in the segment. I mean, you guys are building a ton. What you're already building has captured the attention of many in the traditional kind of robotic space, like not the crypto-centric space, but like in the real industry outside of outside of these markets. Talk to us a little bit about what you're most excited about building. What's coming down the roadmap that could really be a game changer in terms of usefulness, going from 0 to 1, really propelling Codec with the next step, and maybe even include how the PumpFun Hackathon kind of gives you resources to get there.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm most excited about right now is that there is a lot of shift towards, and I think over only the past month and few weeks, there is a lot of shift about starting to work towards optimizing the data sent to VLMs and VLAs and all of these models. And this goes back also to latency and goes back to video streaming and processing for robotic and other use cases. And these papers are being released by Microsoft, by NVIDIA, and things like that, which is what we've been working with and we've been working towards. So that means it's basically confirming our trajectory is that these AI models are going to need real-time inference very soon, either for robotic or other use cases. And we are in the best position to start serving that with Fabric, the infrastructure, and all of the other libraries and SDKs that we have. So that's the most thing I'm excited about.
Moya, can I ask, did Fabric come out of necessity? Like, was this something that you were getting requests and feedback from, say, Boston Dynamics, and you hear that this was an issue and you decided to build it out of necessity, or how did this come about? Just curious.
Fabric came before we got recognized or known by any of these companies. The idea for it was that initially what I was working on before all of this was gaming agents and video streaming agents, and those type of agents, they need real time and they need the lowest latency possible, and the only way to get that is through making sure that wherever your agent is running is as close as possible to the compute you're providing it. And that's where Fabric came from, is that it tried to aggregate and source between different providers and find the cheapest and the closest compute or hardware that the agent can use to achieve whichever task possible, either for robotic training or for video streaming and processing. And that doing that in the lowest latency possible. Again, you can go back to playing a video game. If you're playing, I don't know, Apex in an EU server, and you are in the US, you're not going to be able to fight with anyone else. The same thing with your agent. If your agent is getting 200, 300 millisecond video, it's not going to be able to process it in real time. So there will be always those issues and delays. And the idea is here for Fabric is to provide these compute that will be 50 milliseconds, sub 100 milliseconds.
So for me, like, I know that you guys already have an amazing platform. I know you guys already garnered a lot of attention. What I'm trying to also get an idea of is just how to think about the Pump Fund Hackathon. An idea that I had earlier on when I saw that you guys entered the hackathon, I'm like, dude, this is a guaranteed winner. I don't know. Like, I literally tweeted out about that when you guys first entered the hackathon, and I was really excited because they provide resources to you guys. Like, obviously there's a cash investment there, but there's also a lot of levers that they can pull. They have access to a lot of big investors. So talk to us a little bit about, as a Pump Fund Hackathon winner, what resources will you be able to kind of use that they provide, or how do you see that being a kind of driver for what you're doing at Kodak?
I don't think I can disclose everything, but there is a lot of resources. Again, like you mentioned, it's not just about the monetary rewards that we're getting, which is being used already to get more developers, to get a marketing team built correctly. But beside that, there is a huge network that they are connecting us with in terms of other investors, other people connected either through crypto or for payment rails too, for the agents or the machines that are using Codec itself. So that's where the value, or the biggest value for us, we're getting from them.
Chillin', you may be muted, I think, if you had a follow-up to that.
I definitely am. I'm talking and no one is hearing me. Thanks for that, Dom. No, but as you guys are building out on Solana, how has the builder experience been? I mean, what kind of support are you getting from Solana? I mean, obviously, you're probably one of their standout robotics projects in the ecosystem. I don't think there's a lot of robotics projects out there in crypto period, but how has the experience been building on Solana? What kind of support have you received from, the team, the foundation?
Yeah, so been connected with the Solana team through many occasions and many interactions, because again, for Solana, first is crypto and then the robotic side of things, but the main interaction point we had was through the X402 and the payment and the facilitators side of things. So that's, and mostly it's technical development related stuff. But we have a lot of support too from them, from the super team here in UAE where I am. We got amazing access to their network and push from them too. And also another thing that we got is that when in Breakpoint we had a very good attendance in an event that we organized there, part of the Solana Breakpoint. So we do get very good receptions from Solana, and I wouldn't say we are the only one, but I think we are the most well-positioned robotic project in Solana right now.
And how are you guys
Most-
using Solana outside of the token? Are you using the Solana network at all?
The Solana network and the token itself in terms of token utility and payment for the whole product is going, because if you go and try to find any other infrastructure product, usually how it works is that you pay with credit card, or you buy credit, or you have a big check that you write to the provider, AWS or any of these providers. But for us, we adopted the 402 from the start. So everything that is on Kodak can be bought and interacted with the X402, and all of that is running through our facilitator that is on Solana. So that's where it comes for.
Got it. Man, I think that covers the questions for me. Let's check the community chat. Let's see if there's any questions. Crypto Jones has one. What about the token? What's its purpose? How does it accrue value? I think you might have answered that a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so this is basically what I was answering right now. So that's where the token comes in terms of payment, providing access to the compute, and the value accrual is going to be happening from all of the resources that are being used on the platform that goes back to the token.
Got it. Sounds good. All righty. Well, Moai, it's been an absolute pleasure here. I think I've gotten a lot of my questions in. Dom, if you have anything else, feel free.
No, you know what? Just continue to be impressed by this. Seeing the demos for me, it's like every time I'm scrolling through the Twitter, especially your personal Twitter account, Moai, is where a lot of the demos come out. Would love to see more of those on the Kodak account, but like this resonates with me in a big way. Just seeing the physical ability that you're giving these robotics to interact with the real environment, like it connects the dots for me. So it makes a lot of sense. The only final question I guess I would have is to give you the floor on roadmap. Like what's coming next? You talked to us about some of the products. You talked to us about Arena. You talked to us about what's it called? Fabrics. Maybe talk to me about anything else you guys have in the pipeline, what you're working on, what you're maybe really excited about coming from the team.
Yeah, so I guess the video we're showing initially was about a product that we're also releasing soon. The product is called Binge, and for us, it's another way to test or stress test Fabric. The idea of Binge is that if you've used any of the agents right now, OpenClaw or anything like that, that you ask it to go and watch a video or watch a stream or watch something like that, the only thing that it can do, for example, is go and read the transcript that is on YouTube and then give you a summary about what is on that video. None of the ability or skills that are available right now allows the agent to actually watch what's going on the video or on the stream. So with Binge, an agent is able to send the link to, for example, this stream, and the agent itself start watching and analyzing. And as a user, I can tell it, if Moai mentioned Kodak Flow, notify me or let me know. And this is what Binge is. It's a tool for agents to be able to see. So giving eyes to your agents. And the way it works is also using Fabric, and for us is to stress test Fabric through streaming video in real time and being able to run VLMs that analyze the video, what's going on in the video, and generate real-time context for the agent to understand what's happening in the video. So
my last question, because it stems right off of this too, so I got one more. You guys are collecting a very interesting subset of data, right? I think we're used to seeing data in this kind of 2D framework where it's numbers, texts, equations, 2D data. Your data is more granular. It's more 3D. It's more dimensional. There's more dimensions to it. So it's not really traditional data. Like, how important is this type of data, I think, compared to some of the 2D static data we're more used to?
This is where every model and every new AI research is going towards spatial data and spatial understanding. We are moving away from LLMs for understanding just the language, and we're starting to try to understand what is our world, what is the physics in our world. How does if an agent is thinking, is basically saying, if I fall, how much it's gonna hurt, basically. So this is the spatial understanding and the spatial reasoning that is starting to get more traction and more valuable now. Especially, it shows more in robotic, but it's valuable in every other sense, basically. Yeah.
Great answer. I guess final question, I promise you, is you mentioned the token was used to spend for credits, especially to use your thing, and that's going to grow with adoption. Are the tokens spent on credits burned? How does that look from a perspective of, like, are you guys keeping half for a treasury or half burned? Like, what does that actually look like? How does it manifest, I think, into a chart is what a lot of people are maybe wondering.
What we're working towards, again, it's not finalized or to be taken that this is the final iteration of this, but it's something similar to Venice and the VVV
Nice.
token model. So that's what we're going towards. And it fits perfectly for us because in the end, whether through SimArena, Binge, and any of these, we are selling compute in the end that's running a specialized type of compute. And whoever rents that compute, they can benefit from similar way for VVV.
And for those who don't know, VVV, it's a very interesting system they have. They have their VVV token, which you can stake, and you have, $1 for each token of unlimited compute or per day for unlimited amount of time, as long as you have staked that token. So really, really interesting model. Any more thoughts on that, or you kind of just covered it?
Yeah. Again, like I mentioned, and the reason why we are on Solana and all of this is that everything is agentic first. So for us, we prefer an agent buying compute for us, an agent doing a simulation in our platform, and an agent renting or using Binge from us. We not directly humans interacting with this stuff. So that makes the whole ecosystem where agents are trying to buy the token to stake it, for example, to get discount in order for them to get compute that they will need in the future, and that's the idea for this. Again, I don't want to say this is the final iteration, but it's where we are going forward with.
Well, I'm glad you're looking at tokens this way. That's going to do it for me. Chill, unless you got anything from those last 3 questions you want to attack real quick. I think we covered it all.
No, we definitely did. I mean, if you're just joining the stream, I think you should rewind the last 5 minutes. I was pure alpha. So no, good questions, Dom. Moyai, I appreciate you joining the stream again to talk to us a little bit about Kodak and what you guys are doing. Definitely happy to have you guys back as things unfold and you guys continue to build things out. Always welcome back on the stream. So appreciate your time here today.
Thank you, Dom. Thank you, Shin. Until next time. Then. Bye-bye.
Always a pleasure, man. Super cool stuff.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Take care.
Cool. Dude, sick.
Oof. That last 3, 4, 5 minutes of that segment there. Kind of heat. That was kind of heat. Man.
Takeaways. We had a mini robotics season a while ago, I feel like. And nothing really materialized from it. I think Kodak was one of the maybe the only one that's really stood out and stood the test of time. Genuinely, what I like about Kodak is the fact that, okay, it's got the Web3 world, but really a lot of its focus and attention is coming from Web 2. At the very end, he mentioned the VVV token, which we've talked about on the channel many, many times. Unfortunately, they declined our request to come on. What a shame. But we've talked about their token many times on the channel, and it's a really, really cool model. One of the very unique models we've seen. And I think we've been lacking innovation on the token side. And so to see that they're kind of taking from the VVV model and they're looking into it, how can it affect their token, is really interesting. If you looked at the VVV chart, and I'll pull that up. For a while, there wasn't a ton of interest until people realized, okay, these guys have a ton of users. And by the way, you can stake their token for unlimited compute. So there's actually a really, really good deal here. If you're going to use compute for the rest of your life, you can buy the equivalent of one token equals $1 of compute, right? So it's $6.32 a token right now. But if you buy one token, you have $1 of compute per day for that. So, essentially in like 6.3 days, and I could be skewing this a little bit because they have a DM token as well, which you can burn DM to get VVV. It's a little bit of thinking involved, but nonetheless, it's a very interesting way to buy and leverage compute and make the token valuable with its compute usage. And so if Kodak can get a lot of people using their credit, using their platform, and then they have a model to where you have to buy Kodak and stake it to get this $1 of compute a day. Well, now you have a token that's actually tangibly valuable compared with the amount of compute they have, right? If they have $1 million of compute they could give out, well, there's a finite amount of tokens they can sell. And then the value of that token naturally increases with the demand of the platform, right? So super demand of platform and cost of compute, right? Both. So really cool stuff. I would love to hear your thoughts as well, Chill, because there's just so much, I think, to digest there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Kodak thesis, it all boils down to this, right? Like you have a robotics platform that's highly respected by all the big names in robotics, AI. You have them that they're giving you tech that can essentially cut down cost and time. I think it cuts time down like 80 to 90%. Then it cuts costs down from like I think 50 to 80%, I believe was the figures that I saw. But again, like when you compare that to traditionally like how these builders, these developers, they would how they would create their robots, literally it's a coding, recruitment, simulation, and then you're basically just simulating until you actually break ground on something on something that is innovative and that can push the project forward. But until then, it's all just sinking time and money and resources into a project. But with Kodak, they provide literally everything. It's kind of this like base layer for building in robotics that can give you all the things that you need, from inference to simulation environment to resources.
Yeah.
And all you need to do is just pay for the pay for compute essentially.
Very
Um,
professional.
yeah, I love it. I mean, look, I actually did a tweet on about Kodak like a while ago, and I remembered like, I mean, they had like World Labs, like literally like
Sam Altman.
yeah, literally they had Fei, I believe is her name, but she's often called the mother of AI. Like they have a lot of well-respected people that are looking at looking at Kodak and saying, "Wow, like you guys are actually building something here." So for me, it's an early stage project, but the proof of concept is there, the technology is there, the innovation is there. All we're literally you're just waiting on that 0 to 1 moment, right? Like where you know where everything kind of clicks.
Yeah, I feel like I should have asked about funding, I guess, outside of this, because I've gotten a lot of inbound interest from Boston Dynamics, World. And again, these are big companies. Again, like World is Sam
Mhm.
Altman's company, and Boston Dynamics is a massive robotics company out of Boston, obviously. I think they could probably go raise venture right now and raise at a very healthy valuation, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd imagine they can with no
I should have asked.
issues.
Yeah, with no
Yeah.
issues. And I don't know. I'm not as deep entrenched in the AI world as I am in like other places, but just seeing that and hearing about the traction and the people that are using it is very interesting. And to show you guys the VV token when they did integrate this new um, stake the VV token for $1 a day of unlimited compute. I mean, you can see this is a daily chart here, and so about 50 days ago, it really just started going up only because of how valuable people take this compute at. And again, they have like 3 million users. So, but yeah, this is like using this idea into the Kodak token. You can have a token that's been down only, right? Like this, for example, this is what it looked like. This is what the token looked like 52 days ago. Didn't look great. And then as soon as they implement that new mechanism, which I thought was very intuitive, the token looks really good now. Of course, still down from all-time highs, but
And like I just think that this is the only place to get access to robotics tech in not only in crypto, is like in the world. Literally, that's why they're so close with major players like Hugging Face, Boston Dynamics.
Right.
Like it's for a reason. And I think if they do kind of like implement that VVV style tokenomics, I think that'll be like a freaking huge unlock from a PA standpoint. But that's the setups that, just generally speaking, guys, like as I'm looking on chain, like those are the setups for me that like I'm prioritizing is what's the tokenomics, bro? Like what's implementation? Is it connected to network effects? Will it scale with the business? And I think that's more so like the Web3 crypto ethos, because it's not like, I understand like this movement to equity to make sure that a token has intrinsic value. But I think some of the best tokens that we've seen in crypto are ones with natural utility. They have some sort of a way of stimulating demand that isn't going to cause any more
Right, network
friction with the
effects.
products. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that's
that's
the
why
one I'm looking
tokens are so hard to value, right? Like layer 1 tokens. I mean, until this cycle, you were almost guaranteed to have great upside if you just bet on layer 1 tokens, because they're so hard to value. It's like, how big could this industry be? And so, like, yeah, although I'm like so pro equity, and I think we both are, everyone is on MCG, everyone that watches, everyone that talks, like whatever, super pro equity. But also there's that like upside factor that equity doesn't necessarily have the upside that network effects and some of the unknowns of crypto can bring to tokens, right? And we've seen what happens when the market gets frothy. You see these insane blow off tops, 100x's, outperformance in a sector, in the entire sector. So, dude, I'm still a proponent of implementing interesting ways to utilize a token. I wish we saw it more, which is why I love VVV. But cool. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I could talk about it for hours.
Yeah, same. All right, so guys, if you guys are just joining the show, or you recently joined the show during the interviews, we mentioned before these interviews started that, after the interviews are done, we're gonna do macro. We're gonna get into some on-chain news, some setups that we're looking at and things. And the time has come. Guys. So
let's do it.
Let's take a look. Just go high level. Any news you want to cover first, Dom, or anything going on?
Let's look at Bitcoin, maybe some equities and everything, and then we can hop on chain. Not much to cover other than turbulent weekend, Trump taco at very last minute before market opens. We got the pump from it, kind of been faded into. I guess the only thing I will pull up is, did you see the Iran, the person from the Iranian regime, I forget exactly what his role is, talk about fading the market?
Oh, I saw something like that. Oh man, I didn't save the tweet though.
I got it. Here, I got it. And bro, why is my screen not sharing? Okay, here we go. This is it. So right here, you can see, Polymarket reported on it real quick. Iran's parliament speaker says reports around U.S.-Iran talks are often fake news meant to manipulate financial markets and oil markets. In other words, traders should treat pre-market headlines carefully because the first move is not always the real move. We know there's a lot of manipulation in the market, but now we're getting, like, this warfare is such a Twitter heavy and like financial markets related war. I think more so than we've ever seen in the past. It's just totally a game of, I'm saying this to take down the market, and I'm saying this to keep up the market, right? Trump's doing the taco. Trump always chickens out right before the market opens, and markets pump. And then throughout the week, we try to do whatever we can to prop up the market, and markets close. And now we're talking bombings, troops on the ground, negotiations are over, right? And so it's this interesting dynamic that I never think we've seen, where it's like, we're predicating this war completely around the financial markets. Like, we know whatever we say is going to have an effect on the financial markets. So we're going to completely fight this war on that. And so I think Iran's seeing this now, and their strategy is kind of shifted to, okay, we're just going to do as much infrastructural damage as possible. And we're going to do as much damage to the United States market as possible to make them back down, because we're not going to beat them in a war. All right, it's not going to happen. But what we can do is cause a lot of damage to, and I think that's what we're seeing here. And so the misinformation coming from Iran has been kind of heavy recently. But interesting that he says this. And I guess I'll just read it again. Heads up, pre-market so-called news or truth is often just a setup for profit taking. Basically, it's a reverse indicator. Do the opposite. If they pump it, short it. If they dump it, go long. See something tomorrow, you know the drill. Of course, I think trying to respond to anything Trump might say to move the markets around. So it was kind of crazy. I don't know. This is just a weird environment we're in general.
I mean, look, I've been saying this for a very, very long time. No one wants war, not China, not Russia, not the US. And I'm not a macro guy. I don't claim to be a macro guy. I'm not like some macroeconomics expert, not even close. It's just the base. This is a very simple truth. No one can afford a war, right? No one can afford a war. And the world is so deep in debt, and the world now is obviously built on top of this debt. So we're really built on a very weak foundation here. And so when you see these in these wars, you see that players like Iran or the US or others, they have more financial leverage. They can weaponize on the financial side. And yes, I can bring that up. I was actually going to pull that up as well. Was that from Left Curve?
Yeah, dude, I just saw it pop up. It's hilarious.
Literally just pointing out what Dom is saying. I'll share my screen. But Monday market open, another historic peace deal, maybe the biggest deal ever.
They just sent us a great gift. 12 tankers.
Friday market close. Death to Ayatollah will blow your ish up for real. So yeah, I mean, look, everyone has this financial lever that they can pull in war times now. It's not just boots on the ground. It's not just a matter of armies or Marines or ships in the sea or jets in the sky. It's not that. People know that we are so over leveraged as a society that you can apply financial pressure to any country if you can spot the weakness, and that will cause them to pivot. That could cause them to lose a war, because it's very, very simple. The financial system is in a very weak and fickle place. And if the financial system collapses, then obviously that's no good for any country. And so they're going to fight to preserve that, just for self-preservation reasons. And that's why we're bullish on Bitcoin. That's why we're bullish on crypto. Crypto is not connected to any of these assets, not connected to anything that goes on in the world. If anything, Bitcoin is a hedge to all of it. And so that's why we prioritize permissionless, decentralized products over centralized entities.
And real quick, Chill, just so I don't forget, guys, we do have an MCG Alpha account. Make sure you go and follow this. What this is going to be is all of our live notes, any extra clips we have are going to be posted here. So we're trying to clean up the main feed a little bit, right? The main MCG account, it's going to be our full segments, show promotion, like letting you guys know who's coming on, and then like a couple clips, 1, 2, 3, maybe clips from each project that are just like high level. No tickers, just trying to be compliant with whoever we can be there. And then the MCG Alpha account, this is going to be where we drop stream notes, kind of all the extra stuff goes here. Stream notes, extra clips, all that stuff will be here. So guys, make sure you go follow the MCG Alpha account just so, there's going to be a little bit of like a balance we're trying to do there. So that's the update.
Yeah, some things we're working on in the background, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Also, let us know of any feedback. If you guys got any feedback, man, like when we're live on stream, comment it in the chat. Like if it's feedback on a clip or on this or that, whatever, bro. DM the account, DM us, comment in the show chat, whatever. We want to hear your feedback, but we just want to provide value to you guys. That's all. So now onto Bitcoin chart. Okay. So a few things happening that's really interesting. Obviously, you guys have seen this structure here that I've had drawn out for several weeks, right? You have sort of this structure here, right? You see the kind of the similarities in the price action. Here's the part that for me is making both a little bit different. So let's zoom into the 12-hour and let's go down here. As you can see, last week we pointed out that there's some. I tweeted out. I said, "Hey, look, I'm seeing some bearish price action develop," and that was based off of this SFP that was seen here on the 12-hour. Actually, I saw it more clearly on the 8-hour last week. It was actually pretty obvious there, and we couldn't break above that 72K level, and so we came down. Now I'm seeing an SFP on the opposite side, right? You can't obviously trust every SFP that prints on the chart, but obviously, it's an indication. It's something that can kind of shift the probabilities a little bit. So with this SFP, again, I've told you guys, I'm open to 80K. I'm open to us going all the way here, right? So like if we just like, if that's what we do in the short term, like I don't mind that at all. But I ultimately still think we come and see these lower levels here before going higher. So that's what I'm on the lookout for with Bitcoin. Obviously, I'm still green box is a target. Sub 60K is a target. We could deviate a little bit higher, like I said, to 80K. We could even pump to here 71.5 before coming back down. So what I'm saying is sub 60K is the target. I don't care what we hit before we get there. We can hit 71.5, 72K. We can hit 80K. Ultimately, I'm looking to get super long sub 60K. That's the area for me. That's going to be like a major pivot. And that's what my trading style is more predicated around, is more so looking at where at these pivot points, not necessarily trying to time a bottom, but just kind of see where momentum can shift. And you kind of have to reach for these key places on the chart, because even on the 2-week, as you can see, let me do this real quick. Bang. So as you can see, we're in a key range between these two green lines here at the bottom, and maybe I can change the color so you guys can like see that a little better. But between those two orange lines there at the bottom, that's a big demand zone, right? That goes all the way back to our 2021 structure. That goes all the way back to our 2024 structure that we literally spent all year in. So I'm expecting us to spend quite a bit of time here. But again, where we bounce, that's up to the short-term market to decide. But we're looking at a lot of things here that are playing out really well so far. But just don't drink the Kool-Aid, right? Don't let just the short-term bounces, make that, oh man, well, automatically we're bouncing. So like last week, when we were at that green circle that you see there, when we were there, everyone was like, oh man, we're calling for higher, we're going higher. Like right here, everybody got bullish. And I literally was the only one that was like, or one of the few, not the only one. I give the others more credit, like Smiley, Killer XBT, and a few others. Not the only one. Even Trader Main, and those guys, they definitely had it. But a lot of people were calling for higher here. A lot of people were saying we're so back, this and that, and it just wasn't the case here on MCG. Along with a few select chads, we were the only few that were kind of calling for this move down. So let's be nimble here. Let's be aware of the probabilities, as in, hey, we could deviate to the upside and we could see some more price action, like, towards 71, 72K, maybe even 80K, but it doesn't matter. We're headed to the green box. Solana here, though, is looking very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Same setup as Bitcoin here. You see the SFP that we have here on Solana. And it's reacting really well. this line here, this red line that you see, this trend line, that's a multi-month trend line going all the way back to, I believe it was October, if I'm not mistaken. If we go on a higher time frame, we'll be able to see that better. Yeah, so going back to our top in September, that's the trend line that we're essentially trying to break above, and we haven't quite done it yet. But as you can see on the 2-day, we're still waiting for a close. This SFP is pretty high time frame. It's pretty high time frame. And something else that I wanted to really quickly show you guys on Bitcoin. Obviously, this is just another look at the bear flag that's been printing on Bitcoin. We saw how it played out here, and so again, just more indication for downside before resuming higher. So keep that in mind as we enter tokens on chain, as we look at, leverage opportunities on majors. Realize that a dump is ahead of us. Again, we could deviate, we could pump. That's why we don't know what the market is going to do. So that's why me personally, I'm staying exposed to the market. I'm calling these moves. There's probability of the chart doing this or that, but we ultimately don't have a crystal ball. So I'm going to stay exposed to the market, continue to accumulate great assets as I wait for the market to ultimately bottom and trend higher. Here, Bitcoin, there's an indication that we're likely going from here to sub 60K. That's my base case. I just want to make that clear. That's my base case. We're headed from here to sub 60K, but I don't mind if we go up to 80K before that. I don't mind that at all.
So a few things. It's like cash is king in this market. Not only Bitcoin, but everything else is rolling over. Cash is king in this market. And if we do get this downturn here on Bitcoin, it'll be interesting to measure how much we went down, how fast it happened compared to previously, right? So if you look to the left, you see the first leg and you see a second leg. Now we're kind of loading third is what Chill seems to be thinking here. And if this one extends further and faster than the previous one, that's not a good sign. You want to see weakening legs to the downside to indicate that you're getting closer to, an ultimate bottom. I mean, and again, it could happen. We even see charts like this. This is a Twitter account that I'm actually not following too closely, but I did see this tweet. I forgot who retweeted it, but nonetheless, the past 2 midterms years, the S&P has tested the 200-week EMA. Coincidentally, Bitcoin found a bottom near or around the same time. So you can see, as you guys know, we're coming up on midterms here. So Brett is kind of predicting we might do something similar, right? So this is a Bitcoin chart. The 200-week EMA is this blue line here. And then, during the midterms, which seem to be these boxes right here, we have tested that 200-week EMA, right? Tested the 200-week EMA. This is COVID, of course, and then tested the 200-week EMA as well. So he's thinking, well, we might come and test the 200-week EMA again on the S&P. The thing is, Bitcoin's at a really great level. But when you look at all the other charts that are about to roll over, you have to ask yourself, is Bitcoin going to follow suit with the S&P and with some of these other equities and the broader market? Or has it just front ran this entire move and it's found a bottom or is going to find a bottom maybe before these ones because it's overextended to the downside? That's what I'm still juggling. Like I probably wouldn't feel comfortable going long on Bitcoin until I feel like the broader market, S&P, Dow Jones, QQQ, NASDAQ, etc., have found a bottom, or at least are close to bottoming. I just don't think we can be risk off in the broader market and risk on in Bitcoin. It doesn't really make much sense to me. But keep this in mind, guys, as we go into midterms, maybe looking for a sharp downturn, finding a bottom. If you do follow the EMAs around the 200-week EMA, but I'll send it back to Chill.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree, Dom. But yeah, just cash is king. I think that's a really good thing for like big DCAs, kind of throwing the rest of my cash in there. That'll come at sub 60K. But right now, just kind of taking some small bets here and there, nothing too crazy. But let's look at Solana. Again, really interesting place here. Why am I looking at Solana? Well, first, let's draw your attention to Sol BTC. Sol BTC, back in January, actually broke a key long-term level. If we look at the 2-week, we kind of get a much clearer picture here. Is we kind of broke this trend line back, but we're bouncing off of a key level here, and so far reacting really well. So I'm looking for Sol to outperform Bitcoin. That's kind of what I'm looking for here. That confluent with not the others chart, but if we were to look at stuff like total 3, um and let me clean this up a little bit here. Let me remove this here. But when you look at things like total 3, you realize that we're in a pretty key demand zone here, right? If you look at it like that, and maybe I can do that, and we can draw it up like this. So this is a pretty key area here for total 3, a good area for the crypto market cap to bounce essentially. And we see this we see total 3 coming into support. That's one. We see Bitcoin, sold Bitcoin looking like Solana is going to outperform, coming into a key support area. So I say all of that to preface my Sol take on, again, on a high time frame, we're holding a key area, key level of support at the 0.786. Number 2, when you look at the daily and you zoom in all the way here, and let's just like blow this up for you guys so you guys can see it. SFP here. SFP here. Maybe I just hit that in the text real quick for you guys so you can actually see. Boom. So SFP there. So Solana here, again, looking like it's going to outperform. Total 3 is in a really good market cap spot. It's coming into support, and it's looking to go higher. Same thing with Sol Bitcoin. Sol is about to outperform Bitcoin. It's coming into support. It looks like it wants to go higher. And then we also have this like higher time frame SFP. We haven't really had the close on this on the much higher time frames, like the 3-day, for example. Still waiting to see like when it closes there. That'll happen in the next the next 30 hours or so. But that's something that I'm paying attention to as Bitcoin is going into the sub 60K levels. What is going to hold up? What is outperforming the market? What is looking like it's strong? Solana is one, based on all the reasons we just listed. Hyperliquid is another one. Don't really see a recent FSP, but like this, it's broken like a key market structure here, as you can see. So it's coming back into an area of support that looks really well. ZEC, another one with an SFP formed on a high time frame. Already closed the 2-day here, so actually looks good for a bounce here, ZEC. And then lastly, Tau, cooling off a little bit. So you have to go to some lower time frames to get some context. But still waiting to kind of see where exactly does Tau kind of settle out here. Obviously, we've had like a parabolic move here. We called it out last week down here, literally off this SFP close. Bang, we saw a huge move for Tau. So I'm looking for something similar to form here with Tau this time around, but still have to wait on PA to develop. As you guys know,
the only thing that scared me about Tau when he had gone on that really nice run was it just seemed like everyone was talking about it. Like, despite the market being in a terrible position, we had like the trad guys talking about it. We had all of crypto talking about it. And I think, the signs were kind of pointing to it taking a little breather.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. Let's see. What else? So that's
covered hype.
Yeah, covered hype, covered ZEC, covered Tau. Last thing I'll cover is Fartcoin. Still, again, looking for signs of reversal here. I thought it was actually going to hold this level here a lot better. And even this one, I thought it would hold a lot better. But it broke out of its downtrend. It's kind of cooling off now. When you look on lower time frames, like on the 8-hour, you see like it's forming this channel here. So still waiting to kind of see what develops here for the Fartcoin along with other majors. But those are the 4 that we're looking at, or 5, I should say. Sol, Fartcoin, Hype, Sol, Fartcoin, Hype, Zec, and Tau. Those are the 5.
Let
All
me
right,
let
so
me
that's
throw some equities on the screen. Just show everyone
let's
what's going on that side.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just a quick note on this. Again, this is a weekly time frame. I don't care to go down into the 4-hour or even the daily. Like the weekly, I think says it all. You look
Mhm.
at the NASDAQ. We've been running up since 2020 really nicely. And I think it's time for a pullback. And maybe we do get a deep pullback into the midterms, but I was talking to some people over the weekend, a few financial advisors at Merrill Lynch. And these guys are really good, but they're expecting, they said anything down at this point is a good opportunity to buy. If you're willing to hold, which I do agree with. I do, however, think we still go a lot lower first. I just think there's a lot going on in the markets. I think we were running very, very hot, especially for software. And so I think we do see deeper into these lower ranges, like even closer to the 20K mark. I think for the NASDAQ is probably where we start finding a bottom. I know it seemed extreme, but I just think we're due for it. Been running so hot. And same thing applies for, the S&P. I think we get deeper into this range as well. And same with the Dow Jones. I think we get deeper into this range as well. So I think we got a little bit lower to go. And when you look at specific stocks, like that kind of lines up. Again, if you're trading the S&P, right? If you're trading the NASDAQ, trading the Dow Jones, you have to understand what's in these baskets and, look at those stocks specifically to see how those are going to affect the broader markets, right? Because of course the S&P, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, QQQ, these are baskets of all these different stocks, right? The top stocks in the tech sector, top stocks and so on and so forth. Nvidia, again, one of those ones. If you buy on any significant dip, here we're already down 20%. Like if you're buying Nvidia down 20%, if you're here to hold, if you're willing to hold for the next couple of years, you're probably good. Like this is probably not a bad zone to buy. I, however, am looking for Nvidia down here. I don't know if we quite get this low on my gold box. If we do, the farm's probably going on this thing, right? Because Nvidia is going nowhere. AI is only going to continue to ramp up. They're only going to deliver better technology. They have this hardware moat. Yes, it's like the top company in the world in terms of valuation. I still think it's a fantastic buy. We're already down 20% from all-time highs. If it gives you more, start looking at these equities. Sub 140 is probably a great DCA, a really great DCA to start on Nvidia. If you get down here, I would turn that DC up onto full blast mode for Nvidia. You guys know I like Tesla. I think Tesla's got a hardware moat. I will be looking to start a DCA if we get sub 1 or 340. Now, my DCA for this will be based on broader market. If the entire market still looks like it's got more downside, I'm not going to fight against a bad market. And that's what I'll say for all of these. I'm never going to fight against a bad market. So if the market just in general looks terrible, my DCA will probably be lighter. Once it starts turning up and looking better across the board, that's when I'll maybe be like, okay, zones are looking really nice here. But zones look pretty sweet for Tesla, sub 340. Then especially, again, down to the lower points of this leg or where I'm accumulating. Again, the moat there is the hardware angle that Tesla has. Robinhood, you guys know my thesis. This one's coming down fast. I think this one does actually reach my box just because it is a software company. We're seeing other people fight on this, but the revenue is so good. This entire run up it did over the last year, I think once that gets erased and it's at the same price it was despite revenue being much better and all the numbers looking much better, like this seems like an obvious buy. So Robinhood continues to look like a good DCA. Circle, I'll end on this. Not looking to bid this until I just see a broader turnaround or something change within the crypto market. But I do say keep eyes on this as we get lower because this is kind of the play on stable coins here and stablecoin adoption. So this is like it's an equity if you still want some crypto exposure. I'm not going to touch on anything else. I think these are the only 4 I really care to touch on right now. But that's all for the equity section. I guess I have to look at gold and silver real quick for you guys. Nothing's really changed. Oil continues to grind up. We opened up on after the weekend. We spiked up towards the end of the weekend. So oil probably goes higher unless something, oil probably keeps trending higher, unfortunately. Gold, silver, kind of at a stall, they're again still not performing very good as safe haven assets, but here you go, silver and gold, nothing's really changed there. So that'll wrap it. I actually again, historic run on silver and gold. We've seen this before. What happens after these massive run-ups is these very, very long bearish durations. So I do think we get silver back a significant bit lower. Same with gold, and we probably trend sideways for a little bit. I don't think it's as long as nearly as long as these two at all, nearly, but I do think we probably go lower from here. So gold and silver, staying true to those, and that's where I'll call it for this segment. Unless Chill's got anything last minute.
Last minute is this fractal here. I'll share this with you guys. You guys know that we've been following Kill XBT, added him into the Chads list like summer last year. Dude has been like just on point. But one thing that I've really been interested as of recently, like I think it was like 2 months ago on stream, I basically told you guys that me and him kind of have similar. I'm seeing like some confluence here in terms, might be a little bit different, but just some confluence as far as like, hey, like we're definitely headed sub 60K, right? Like he might think we're headed a little bit lower than that. Not really sure what his specific thoughts are, but this is more or less how I see things playing out for us. Basically we chop around. And again, maybe we see some short-term pumps into the 72K, maybe even as high as 80K area. But this is all just freaking chop, bro. It's all just chop until we finally hit the sub 60K bottom. And that's where I'll be looking to just freaking offload, bro. Not offload, but just throw the farm at this whole at a ton of on-chain bags. So that's a good kind of way to wrap up here as well, the macro segment. Let's transition into on-chain. Let's see here. And
Fumbler, dude. I don't know, bro. We're trying to figure this out. I think my computer's just...
It's StreamYard, bro.
You think it's StreamYard? I have a pretty beefy computer, but it's just, this has been ridiculous. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I get a second computer and I just use one for streaming and the other one for all my charts and stuff, but I don't know if it's StreamYard. I don't know if it's the Wi-Fi. I don't know what it is, dude.
I think it's a stream. Like we've been streaming for like months and months and months with StreamYard. Ask Claude to fix it.
Yeah, honest,
low key.
I need to be chatting with AI.
Literally. Let me see. So here's some tweets to share with you guys. Some on-chain stuff. Crypto Jones, no tickers you're watching. Yeah. I got a couple. Nothing like very, very new, but just a couple that I'm keeping an eye on. Let's see here. So let's speed run through this. Actually, let's watch this video. I'm gonna reshare my screen so you guys can actually hear the audio on this thing. But apparently today is Memescope Monday.
Yes. Yes.
So here's Orangey explaining Memescope Monday.
We're going to be touching again like it's 2024, so make sure you don't go to school that day.
Sheesh.
All right, guys, really big announcement here that I want to talk about. It's a really big day on Monday. If you guys haven't with the trenches, let's talk about what's going on. We're going to get ready for Memescope Monday, March 30th at 10 a.m. Eastern. The traders plan to flood fresh Solana meme coins.
Come on, bro.
Stop fun. And Radium with massive volume. All right, boys. So we're getting ready. 2024, 2025 fall. It kicked off with Orangey's board call for action. We're gonna be punching again like it's 2024. So make sure you don't go to school that day. Don't call into work. Hey, let's see if the community. Right.
Sorry. All right. Hi, chat. I had to share that with you guys, man. So off of this, you guys remember the little 12-year-old kid? You guys, literally, that was the next post going up. You guys remember the 12-year-old kid that like flicked off the Pump Front live stream and made like 30 bands? No, you can stay on your screen.
Okay.
You can, yeah. He actually like legit said he was skipping school today to trade.
Alpha.
Oh my gosh. I didn't save the tweet and I'm looking for it because I want to show it to you guys. It's hilarious. But yeah, as you can see, this is how Memescope Monday is going so far for the boy. Honestly, we talked about this a little bit last week. We didn't dive into it as much as I wanted to, but I basically was saying like, dude, Memescope Monday is like, that's a bearish thing. Even over the weekend, I put out a tweet that's kind of like, okay, this is like we're headed to the bottom for meme coins at this point, right? Like, you know, a lot of people are scared about meme coins. Thread guy the other week said that meme coins are basically dead. You have like Memescope Monday, which is honestly just a way to probably farm or probably for launch pads to like, you know, farm fees or I don't know. I just didn't really see it as like a genuine movement to like help the trenches in any way. Just an opportunity to get people to trade, you know, and ultimately farm fees, in my opinion.
Just such a bad idea.
Yeah.
Just such a bad idea. I don't know what was going through this guy's head when he was like, oh my gosh, I got it. Like, let's do a Memescope Monday. And the dude decided to go on social media platforms and publish and try to get a community going, pump and dump coins. Like, there was nothing good that could have come from this. Even if it went exactly according to plan, there was nothing good that could have come from this, like, at all. I don't get
Literally, if you share my screen, right? And you were to just go back the last 5 months to every Monday over the last 5 months, they've all been bearish. So you literally chose the worst day of all. You chose the absolute worst day to do a Memescope Monday on, or to do an any type of meme day on, right? Monday has absolutely been literally the worst time to
just log off.
Yeah.
Log off
Yeah.
Monday is what we should be calling it.
Here's some quick like, you know, just trader alpha from the homie Game. And if you guys know us, you know that we love Game. We love covering some of his stuff. Like, he's really great trader just in terms of how he positions himself in the market. And honestly has like a lot of like good trading takes. And here's the tweet here. I wanted to direct your attention though to the latter part of this tweet. Because it's essentially what he's saying in slow markets, you have you can either try to trade that market, like learn new games, learn new narratives, stay curious, or you can just sit out and like work on your own like weaknesses, whether they be emotional or maybe like there's some sort of new trading framework you can implement or what have you. But he basically says the tension is that doing nothing feels wrong. So most people default to action. They convince themselves they're adapting when they're really just forcing trades in environments where they have no edge. You don't need to win every regime. You need to recognize when your skill set is out of sync, avoid bleeding during those periods, and be ready to shift when conditions shift back. Most damage happens in low activity environments, not high ones. Not because there's no opportunity, but because traders start playing games they're not built for. So just play the game that you're built for, right? Like, I saw a tweet, somebody was like coming at me on the timeline. They're like, "Oh my God, chill. All you're doing is like posting these sort of like," I mean, you guys see what I've been posting, right? Like, I've been more so kind of posting these sort of just like, I like to call them journal entries, like things that I'm just thoughts that I'm realizing as like markets move, you know. I just, you know, like this one, like Onchain is cooked. Like, I've just been like, you know, just observing what's happening in the market and just reacting to it, and not necessarily actively trading, because literally you saw it in the tweet just a moment ago. Literally, I think Onchain is cooked. I think this is not the best trading environment. I think you should sit on your hands. Like, I've literally said that for I don't even know how long. And you know, people are coming at me because I haven't given the timeline a call in a little while. Bro, we've literally been on the same thing for weeks. We've been on the same thing for weeks. So let's talk about what we've been on.
Dude, I haven't even uttered a word of the trenches to my timeline or like private chats in months, bro. In months. Literally not. There's literally not a single thing that I think is worth touching in this market right now. Pretty much. I mean, there's a few things, but outside of the handful of things that I've talked about on the show, there's not a single thing I'm too interested in.
Yeah, same, to be honest. Same. I mean, the things that we've been talking about pretty much for weeks is you guys already know it. You guys already know it. What the dog doing? You know, that's what I've been talking about. I've bought and I've just held. I've
Credit
bought
to
and
you
I've
on
just
this one,
held.
bro. I cannot believe this has held up so well.
Look, you go where the attention goes. So obviously we have this like little resistance above here at like just around 4 mil ish, that sort of area. I love the reaction here though. Slight dip down here, slight dip, and looks like we're we're ready for more action. We're ready to slide. And by the way, Crypto Jones, I am in a bid ask on DLLMing, and here's my range. So I'm on a spot DLMM though. Spot DLMM. So that means equal bids all the way down, right? All the way down. So as we dip, I'm just collecting fees. No matter what happens with the price action here, bro, we can do whatever we want. Like we can peak above the range, come back lower, peak above, whatever. I don't really care what we do. All I know is like on the DLM side, I have a spot bag and then I have a DLM bag. So that's what I'm looking at for what the dog doing. Looking absolutely incredible. Amazing chart. Another call out from Friday that we're talking about. Copper Inu. I've kind of talked to you guys about this one. I'm like, it's peaking above the range. So looking really good there, Copper Inu. I think him Harajara or whatever his name is. Shout out you. Don't mean to disrespect, but I don't know how to pronounce your name. So I'll just call him Jira. But yeah, shout out him. He's been still like pushing that apparently. So really nice work there. Honestly, I'm actually thinking here. I call this out like I'm watching it. I told you guys on Friday that I'm watching this breakout here on Wojak. Still eyeing it. Not sure if I want an entry on this yet. Maybe if it comes back down to like 3 mil ish area, maybe even not 3 mil. Even if it comes back to like 4, like maybe I'm a buyer there, but still waiting. Not really rushing to get in trades. One thing I did get into was this like AI fruits meme coin. Looks in a somewhat decent area near the buy zone, but basically the thesis on this was just the impressions. I mean, same thing that led us to what the dog doing, right? You look at the impressions as far as like the mind share is concerned, going absolutely nuts. And look, let me actually show you guys. So this guy here. So if you guys have seen, my wife was actually watching an AI fruits video last night. So yeah, and this got 18 million views. This is a guy from
What were those
CT.
fruits doing there, bro?
Hey man. I don't know. I don't
even get it. I thought it was like fruit.
I've
seen the fruit where it's like, I'm watermelon. Use my peel to, heal whatever, right? I've seen those ones where it's like, I'm a fruit, I can do this cool stuff, and this is how you use me. But I have not seen, the 2 eggplants here picking up, it looks like some peaches and taking Miss Peaches to eggplant Goblin Town is what it looks like.
So in this video here, Fruit Love Island, this is essentially, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was going to pop up on there, but apparently there's like a Fruit Love Island TikTok page that's gotten like, as you can see here, 5.8 million views. Guys, you need to check the Fruits Love Island account on TikTok live ASAP, 6.4 million views. Look, dude, none of this stuff might make sense to me personally, as far as like, I'm like, okay, people are watching AI fruit videos. All right. Like, it is if that's what they're doing, that's what they're doing. I'm not watching it, but I'm seeing what I am watching is 6 million views, 5 million views, 18 million views, right? look on TikTok, almost 1 million likes on this thing for some AI fruits. Like it's getting millions and millions of views. So what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna front run the attention, and that's why I got in. That's essentially the thesis there. Just bringing you guys through the thought and the logic behind that. But obviously, 0.786, great level near the buy zone that we marked out. Previously performed off of that. So I don't know. A small bid, like we always say, 1/3 the size, and you'll survive. So that's kind of like what I'm doing. Not really heavily trenching in meme coins right now, but those are a few that that caught my attention. Lobstar here. Some updates on this. On Friday, we were talking about how Lobstar got his account suspended. Since then, Lobstar is actually back and apparently about to be better than ever. So the OpenAI dev actually shared something with us on the timeline, and this is what he shared, or not he, but somebody shared his message. He said, a reporter from Bloomberg reached out to me. I was confused why she reached out to me and not Lobstar. So, we're already seeing, again, this is a part of the thesis, right? The same fart coin thesis that, AI thought that, this fart coin could penetrate mainstream media and affect real world human behavior. It did, right? It did. And we saw that when fart coin got on SNL and all these things. I think the same thing is similar thesis around Lobstar, right? You have a mimetic AI agent that is hell-bent on generating a ton of attention. It knows it needs to cover costs, right? In order to continue to survive. And so that's something that that I'm excited about, that I think it will be an incredible story that can be covered on the news. And we're already seeing, news we're already seeing that kind of play out. There's another piece as well that I wanted to cover on Lobstar with you guys. Notice this, because again, April is a big month for Lobstar. We've been covering this. Lobstar says, my real home arrives in April, an M3 Ultramax Studio, 32 cores, 80 GPU cores, 512 gigabytes of memory, 16 terabytes. And by the time it arrives, there will be rumors of something better. And I will want that too, because a lobster does not stop growing. He molts and grows and molts and grows. The shell that fits today will crack tomorrow. This is not a problem. This is the design. And so basically, he draws a contrast between the current borrowed home, he says, that is the laptop that he exists in that provides 3 hours of memory, to this new home that he says he'll be in that will basically sustain perpetual memory for all intents and purposes. So pretty big development there happening on Lobstar, yet we see the price kind of meandering around this sort of zone. No parabolic moves, no pumps. Honestly, like if I'm a trader, I'm already in this, but if I'm a trader just looking at this chart for the first time, like this would be, an attractive place to start a DCA. So that's looking really, really good there. What else do we have happening on Solana? I think PsyOp Anime in a nice little level. It's holding within the buy zone that we marked out a while back. So that's looking good. PsyOp Anime there. Keef as well hit our buy zone over the weekend and bouncing pretty nicely.
Look at that.
So nice little 100% almost bounce so far on Keef. You guys know that we've been talking about this, breaking this one down. And I told you guys that, although I did have a higher buy zone initially marked out, I revised it on last Friday or sometime last week. And I basically said, hey, here's the new buy zone. I think we can get this level, and click clack. There you go. Always with the alpha on stream. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. What else we have? I want to talk. What's up, Don?
No. Sorry. No, I'm ready for MetaDAO too whenever, but if you want to stay on Solana or you want to do this first.
I'll just do this. It's probably the only thing I'll cover on base today. Takeover holding this like range here very well. In this range, the protocol accumulated about it bought back 10% of the supply based on the revenue. So we're back in a key range, and honestly, you can even say the range is a lot tighter to here. You can even we can even like you can even draw the range out there. Super tight range there on takeover. So I think buying in here is a pretty good place. I've been DCing in here as well. So I'm really convicted on takeover. It's probably at this point one of my top plays on base. It's not AI, it's not AI agents, it's not but it is infrastructure. It is a new DeFi primitive, and I find that very interesting because again, I want to prioritize setups that, the tokenomics make sense. The tokenomics will drive the value, and the tokenomics cleanly connect the token with network effects. But that's as far as like alpha on chain things that I'm looking at right now. That's like the full wheelhouse of everything that I'm looking at. Let's pivot to some news here. Some news came out here over the weekend. Last week, you kind of saw us talk a little bit more about P2P and everything that was going on there. I don't even think, why am I even looking at that? I don't even think the token launched yet. But let's actually pivot to Meta Profit's article here. And Dom, I know you can run through this one.
Sure. If you want to pull up the P2P raise in the meantime, I'd be interested to see where that's at.
Yeah.
By the way, masterclass from Profit. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Profit is such a great founder because one thing about Profit is he takes criticism and he legitimately reflects on it. And so, like, that's the first thing he does in this article, which I think is just such an amazing thing as a founder to do, is to see flaws in the system, see things that people are having issues with, and literally addressing it for what it is and like adding credence to it. He says, to address the obvious, 2 weeks ago, the founder of P2P placed a bet on Polymarket that P2P would reach 6 million in its ICO. Over the last 48 hours, many people have tweeted about this. Here are some of those tweets. Cointelegraph, DYJ, whatever, so on and so forth. It's all the same thing. They are insider trading. They're posting about it. Their legal team, Godspeed. It's tough, right? They're cooked. Profit says, I wanted to take the time to talk about what we're thinking about and what we're doing. Number one, had we known about this, we would have pushed that they not participate in these markets. Ever since they started, these prediction markets have been a source of constraints for us. Concentration for us. Sorry, guys. We've asked Polymarket to remove them to no avail. This is the message he sent to them. And to state the obvious, I don't support founders, team members, investors, or anyone else with privileged information trading in these markets. At the same time, it's unclear that this is grounds for canceling the raise. At the same time, MetaDAO is a fundraising platform, not the world police. At first, when I saw this come out, what concerned me was that the bets were made with company rather than personal funds. But given that Sheldon rarely did name the Polymarket profile P2P team, and given the other interactions I had with him, it really does seem like this was a guerrilla marketing stunt gone too far. And he relates it to Roy Lee's guerrilla marketing stunt. He said, 3, the people putting in size here are sophisticated, and so far none of them have told us they want to no longer participate. 80% plus of the money that raised today has come through funds that all ran their due diligence process and P2P and the MetaDAO structure. Now we've seen these funds, right? We saw a $3 million commit by some, $500,000, $250,000, some big commits by funds. And so far, not a single one of them has asked us to cancel the raise or requested their money back. The business appears to be real, and founder exited. The business appears to be real, and the founder has exited previous businesses. According to the Dune, P2P is doing 4 million in monthly volume, growing 27% month on month over the last 12 months. We covered all of this in our live stream with them, generating $550,000 in yearly run rate revenue. Now, again, the revenue run rate doesn't equate to profits, but gross stats are looking incredible. 5, the huge benefits of the structure that are allowed to explore the environments, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the conclusion, guys. Given all that, this is from MetaProfit. Given all this, we don't see a reason to cancel the raise. So here's what they decided to do. They decided to allow refunds for those who want out. We have not seen something like this in the past. You can go into the MetaDAO platform, assuming you made these added to the raise prior to all this stuff, before this article released, and you can actually request a refund, which I think is a good move. they've extended the raise 2 days. Okay. So it's given enough people time to think about if they want to refund themselves, if they want to participate, just to digest the situation. I think they went about this the right way. I think you made some great points. Look, they're not the police. Now, if it is financial crimes, they do have some responsibility to like safeguard the platform, of course. So no, they're not the police. And I saw someone say, well, if you run a red light, that has nothing to do with what's going on in terms of like financial crimes and what predicates to the platform. And I think they're right on that. I also do agree with MetaProfit in the sense that these guys aren't the police. They're going to offer it up to you guys. You guys can choose. You can choose to bid. You can choose to bid it, or you can choose to fade it. It's not their choice. I do still think there is some responsibility, but the only way through it, the only way out is through. So that was his response to this. I think it's very, very well said. So I like what they did. They extended the raise. They said you can go ahead and refund if you wanted to. But yeah, so I wonder how this is doing now. How do you guys feel about this? We've already stated this. We don't think that the team should be trading their own prediction market, but I think this has been a good answer. Hey, if you want a refund, go ahead. It's your choice. If you want to continue to keep bidding this and trading it up, you can. We have 2 days to extend it and make that decision. So I think that was a really good response from MetaProfit. Chill, do you have the raise we could check out? Wonder what they're at right now. I would be curious to see if someone refunded it based on that. And we would know if someone refunded it, we'd see $250,000, $500,000, $1 million plus dollars get taken out of the ecosystem from these funds. You might be muted, Chill, but I would love to get that chart up here.
Oh, shoot. Here we go. Yeah, I was muted. Yes, I have it up here now. Here is the raise.
This is curated. This is a curated launch, Crypto Jones.
Yep, curated launch. P2P, decentralized stable coin on off ramp for emerging markets. And here we go. 6.6 million fully committed. Honestly, I love the way that that MetaDAO and Profit approach this. Very sensible, very reasonable response. Sometimes the market can it has a habit of overreacting to things. I think the sensible, reasonable thing was to do exactly that. Extend the raise, give people enough time to sort of like make up their mind on exactly like what what this all means. But also just kind of go through and just realize that, hey, we are a launch pad, but we're not the world police. Like, there's insider trading going on all parts of this market. And not that he obviously mentioned that, he doesn't want any teams insider trading based on any sort of knowledge, but he recognized that, hey, maybe this was just a publicity stunt. Maybe this was like a marketing stunt to and obviously it did its job. I mean, they fully committed, and I think this, compared to the last one,
this has gotten the most buzz on crypto Twitter in the last week. So
yeah,
it's 100% done its job. I don't think they maybe initially expected it to happen like this, but yeah, it's been a good marketing stunt if that was their goal. All publicity is good publicity, right?
Especially considering that they've had really good traction, right? Their growth is insane. So I think that was him including all of that is just a good way of saying, hey, this is a legit business. Yeah, okay. Some of the things there could be some controversy around that. But yeah, I'm glad they addressed it. Yeah, I think it was a great response. I think that was handled really well.
Profit genuinely is a founder that should be studied. Also, I will say Sheldon, when he came on our show, I haven't been really blown away by any founders recently. I mean, we've had a couple on that I thought have been really cool. Krexa was an example recently from EZA, that sick founder, smart guys. But Sheldon was really sharp. It seems like he had this business ironed out. He knew what he's talking about. He as a founder gave me a lot of confidence. I don't love how he was moving on Twitter after this whole situation broke out. Some of the stuff he was calling people, some things he was saying. Felt a little immature, but I will say, based on our interview and our conversation, it went very, very well in my opinion. And Crypto Jones, if you haven't watched that one, I say go give that a watch if you want to learn more about P2P. Crypto Jones also said, I'd say some responsibility falls on MetaDAO in this case. It's a bad look and needed to be addressed. Yeah, look, they have to address it for sure, 100%. But I think you're right, Chill. It's not on them to say what you should and should not be trading. However, I also don't think does anyone really care about this prediction market thing? I don't think anyone seriously cares
I
outside
don't
of
think so either. I think it's a buzz, but hey, like that's why I said the reasonable thing is to extend the raise. If you want a refund, you can get it, and just allow the market to digest the information and decide whether they want to commit or not. It's a free market.
But you know what? Just now I'm thinking about this. It has a really interesting dynamic here at P2P. We know once projects are overcommitted in that last day, people scramble to fill their bids. I
Yeah.
wonder what would happen here because now these people have access or the ability to decommit. I wonder if some of these guys are going to decommit last minute. And it's going to skew how the raise closes because I don't know. Now, if I'm sitting here, I put $100 in, we're over 6 million. I'm like, okay, well, I want to make sure I get my full $100 filled. I think this might go to 12 million. I'm going to now put in additional $100 to get the original 100 filled. But now I'm not sure if I can do that comfortably, knowing that $1 million could be pulled out instantly last minute, and it actually doesn't meet the fill minimum. And so now my $100, which I'm putting $200 in so I can get the full 100, is now $200. I'm 100% more allocated than I expected to be because someone pulled out last minute. So I wonder if that's going to affect how this raise kind of ends in the last hour, because we know how this has been going in the past.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think it's definitely something interesting, something to look out for. But other than that,
Maybe extending it an extra like 6 hours and saying this is your deadline, 1 hour and 1 day, 5 hours from now, and then the last 6 hours will be so we know who has actually committed. It can't be pulled out of the liquidity, and that way people have a better idea going into the final like couple hours of how much they're actually going to get filled. I don't know. As an interesting angle to it, though.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's see here. All right, so what else? What else do we have? What else do we want to go through here? I think we went through quite a bit already. There's honestly not too much happening in markets right now. I think we covered quite a bit of it.
No,
Let me
I'm
see.
good, to be honest. I got nothing left. We've been on here
Yeah,
for
same.
3+ hours.
Yeah, same. I got nothing left. So look, guys, it's gonna be a great week. Maybe we end off with the MCG weekly schedule for this week, and we'll close it out with a couple reminders, and then we'll go from there. So here's the streaming schedule for this week. Obviously, a short week. Today we had Collat and Star on to talk more so about Bedrock, as well as a few updates that they had around their platform. GM Zappy, welcome to the show, bro. Hope you're enjoying yourself. What do you guys make of the new perp platforms launching on Solana?
Are you talking about Percolator or Perpetual? I saw Perpetual, maybe
Yeah.
the one Tolly's talking about.
Yeah, let me know which one. If we can do perps for our on-chain tokens, I think that would be absolutely crazy. But I saw the perps, the percolator token. I've only been monitoring price. I haven't really been monitoring like development on it. So let me know. But yeah, today we had a great conversation with Collat and Star talking about Bedrock. We had an amazing conversation talking about Codec. From all of these three teams, we also talked about Solana, just the building experience on Solana. Found it very, very interesting that the Solana Foundation has really been in the weeds supporting the builders. And it's crazy. I don't see that for other ecosystems. I won't name names specifically, but there have been a few other ecos that haven't. There has been another eco that has not really supported its builders but we're seeing that happening.
Are you saying Base?
On Solana. I'm not gonna name names.
Base is the only competitor here, so.
Well, so I guess guys, use your critical thinking skills and you'll have an easy answer there. But that's today. Tomorrow we have Clued coming on for another project update. We have some interviews on Wednesday and Thursday as well. We'll come out with a schedule update for that one. And then, of course, Friday, markets are closed, so we won't be streaming on Friday. But other than that, guys, Crypto Jones, perk, pumperp, perp, and percolator. Honestly, haven't seen them. So with these types of platforms, so I have seen I should edit that. I have seen a few of those. I haven't seen perk, but I've seen the others. I've seen percolator, I've seen perp. Here's my take on that real quick as we shut down stream. On-chain perps is something that's very difficult to crack. From a liquidity standpoint, there's a lot of underlying, plumbing and technical infrastructure that needs to be built. I'm not sure if any of these projects have built them yet, but I guarantee you that, if they do, the opportunity won't just be in the tokens themselves, like perp, like percolator, and the others that you've listed. The opportunity will also be in the coins that you can long and short. So for this sort of narrative, this on-chain perps narrative, I would be much better. From a trading standpoint, I would much rather wait to see the proof of concept and miss out on the main token and just use the platform and literally trade these on-chain entries that I've been tagging in MCG for months and months and months now, right? That's how I would approach an on-chain perps platform. I would much rather them prove themselves first. Okay, maybe if totally starts shilling, maybe if a lot of people start using it, and maybe if there's metrics are going through the roof and stuff like that, and it's still in a decent zone, definitely I'll bid the token. But I'd much rather be a waiter, miss out on the initial run, and actually use the platform to catch some other runners. But yeah, it would be a very, very fresh thing that happens to on-chain, can really inject some volatility both to the up and the downside. Yeah, he did shill percolator, but I need more than just the shill itself. I need metrics, I need users, I need growth, I need volume, all that good stuff. Volume on the platform, that is. I need more metrics to accompany the shill, not just the shill itself. Solana, totally base, all even Elon shills are don't have the same effect as they've once had before. So
Yeah.
keeping that in mind.
And that chill was a very soft chill. It wasn't like, this is an awesome platform, go use it. It was like, hey, fix this, this, and this, and maybe it'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, 100%. But that's it, guys. Appreciate all the love. Appreciate you guys coming on. Follow the MCG Alpha account for all, we're founders that give us alpha on stream, posted here, right? Stream notes
you can even do a live
here.
demo of how to follow it if you'd like, for the people.
Bang.
Just like that.
Just like that. It's as easy as that. So do the same. We also have a TG that's attached as well. So feel free to hop in the TG for some extra alpha. But follow us at MCG Live to get updates as far as our stream, our schedule, and what's coming for MCG. Really appreciate the love, guys. Appreciate all you guys showing up every single day to watch us yap. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Happy Easter week, boys. See ya.